Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. You have a good chance, I accept it. Chapter 61. In an open space ahead, a group of men in black robes were besieging two men and a woman, waving flying swords one after another. Obviously, they were the sword-controlling skills of the Tianjian sect. Senior brother, there are too many evil cultivators and we can't stand it anymore. Let's withdraw. At this time, one of the women said to the man beside him who was struggling to defend himself from the enemy. Evacuate. Where to retreat? I want to retreat too. Hearing this, the man looked at the men in black robes around him with a look of helplessness on his face. If it weren't for the fact that there were 5 people in black robes who were in the foundation building stage, they would have killed them all long ago. Get it quickly, they've already let the news out. At this time, a man wearing a black robe, dotted with gold threads, who looked like he had a high status said. Hearing this, the man in black robe who rushed to kill became even more fierce. It's shocking. At this time, I heard a shout and punched one of the men in black robes. Before the man in black robes could react, his body flew to the side like a kite with its string broken, and hit the ground hard. No interest. Who? At this time, the leader roared angrily, his whole body full of momentum. The person who will take your life. Shi Jian roared angrily, shook his arm, drew his sword from behind and slashed at the man. Senior brother, just leave this person to me, and you can deal with the others. At this time, Yi Lin rushed out and punched the leader. Okay, junior brother, be careful. After Shi Jian finished speaking, he went to rescue the 3 Tianjian sect disciples who were surrounded. A disciple of the Qingyan sect. At this time, the leader obviously recognized Yi Lin. The clothes he wore were too conspicuous as he was a disciple of the Qingyan sect. As long as you know, 7 killing fists, kill. Yi Lin snorted coldly and struck the person in front of him in the face. Tough guy. After saying that, the man in black robe ran away, followed closely by Yi Lin. The two of them ran and chased each other. In a short time, they had arrived outside the city. At this time, the man in black robe slowly put down his cloak, revealing an old face. Boy, I didn't expect you to have the courage to chase me. I respect you as a man. Remember, the person who took your life is Chen Song. After saying that, his cultivation level in the early stage of foundation building suddenly changed into his cultivation level in the middle stage of foundation building. Die. After Chen Song finished speaking, he struck Yi Lin in the face with a palm. In his eyes, Yi Lin was just a little kid in the early stages of foundation building and did not need martial arts at all. 7 killing fists, kill. Yi Lin was not afraid of this evil cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building and punched him head on. Boom! A palm and a punch clashed, causing a huge wave of air and a burst of dust to scatter. Tap tap tap. At this time, Chen Song's expression changed and he took 3 steps back, looking at his trembling arms with horror on his face. He was a dignified monk in the middle stage of foundation building, but he fell into a disadvantage in a duel with a kid in front of him who was in the early stage of foundation building. Although it was a casual blow, it was not something that a kid in the early stages of foundation building could resist. Yi Lin, on the other hand, shook his arm. With the blow just now, he did not gain the upper hand or lose. As expected of a high disciple of the Qingyan sect, he indeed has 2 skills. Xuanming Divine Palm. At this time, Chen Song mobilized all his spiritual power. Now that he has been exposed, he must fight quickly, otherwise he will die when support comes. 7 killing fists, kill. At this time, Yi Lin still went his own way and punched forward. The next moment, Yi Lin flew out, his body fell far away, and a drop of blood was left at the corner of his mouth. At this time, Yi Lin looked at the black-robed man in front of him calmly. How? When? At this time, Chen Song's expression changed drastically. He looked at the ice soul needle in the center of his palm with a look of shock on his face. The next moment, Chen Song fell to the ground, his body completely breathless, his eyes wide open. Times have changed. At this time, Yi Lin slowly came to Chen Song. These days, if you can do it without any effort, it will be effortless. Then Yi Lin squatted down and pulled out the ice soul needle from Chen Song's palm and put it into the space ring. This thing can be used twice. The ice soul needle is not easy to hit even during the golden core stage, let alone a small foundation building stage. Opening Chen Song's chest clothes, sure enough, there was a jade box inside. Putting the jade box into the space ring, Yilin raised his feet and walked towards Hucheng. When they arrived in the city, Shi Jian and Li Miaoling worked together to clean up the remaining evil cultivators, and even the 4 foundation building evil cultivators were eliminated. Junior brother Yi, are you okay? At this time, Li Miaoling asked Yilin. It's okay. The evil cultivator just now was extremely cunning. When he saw something was wrong, he wanted to run away. I tried my best to capture him. Yilin shook his head and said, pretending to wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth. If you don't pretend, it really doesn't make sense. Thank you to the senior brothers and sisters of Qingyan sect for your help. I am a direct disciple of Tianjian sect, Shu Yin. These 2 are my junior brother and junior sister, named Shulong and Sha Yu respectively. At this time, a man carried a long sword and cupped his fist towards Shi Jian. It's okay. We are all monks who have the responsibility to kill the evil cultivators. By the way, how did you get surrounded by the evil cultivators? At this time, Shi Jian said with confusion on his face, evil cultivators are shamed by everyone, so they usually act very low-key, and it is generally impossible to besiege a large sect's disciples so blatantly. Hearing this, Shu Yin said with a bitter look on his face. We originally came to Tiger City to investigate the evil things, but we didn't expect to find the base of the evil cultivators. We also took the opportunity to rob something that seemed to be very important, so they led them to besiege us. That's it. At this time, Shulong walked out from behind and stretched out his palm. In the center of his palm were 3 magic beads. Seeing this, Yilin and Li Miaoling looked at each other. What? Did this senior brother recognize this thing? Seeing Yilin and Li Miaoling like this, Shulong said to Yilin. We do recognize it. This thing is made by the evil demon using evil magic. Eating it can extend life for 3 months. However, the method of refining it is to use the blood of 1,000 people. Hearing this, Shulong's hand holding the magic beads trembled slightly, his face changed drastically, and he was obviously shocked. When did Hua, who practiced in Tianjian sect all day, see such a scene? When did she hear such a cruel thing? This evil cultivator is so cruel, he really deserves to be killed. The woman standing behind Shulong, that is, Sha Yu, gritted her teeth and said. It seems that these are all the evil cultivators entrenched in Hucheng. Shi Jian looked at the corpses of the black-robed people around him and said softly. Since a month ago, we have killed only evil cultivators. We have not even seen the face of the evil demon. We have failed miserably. Why are so many human races willing to be the running dogs of the evil demon? They are willing to kill their compatriots. At this time, Li Miaoling beside Yilin said, her face obviously not looking good. It's just for life. The higher the cultivation level, the more cherished life, and even for life, they are willing to kill their compatriots. At this time, Yilin slowly said that this kind of thing is really normal. By the way, where is the evil demon base? At this time, Yilin asked Shulong. It's in an underground tunnel in the center of the city. After Shulong finished speaking, everyone suddenly realized that now that all the evil cultivators were dead, and the only one who escaped was also killed by Yilin, weren't all the secrets in the base. I know where the evil cultivator's base is. Brothers, please come with me. At this time, Shulong, who was standing in front, said, and then ran forward immediately. Seeing this, everyone followed closely behind. After bypassing a few streets, everyone arrived at the center of the city. Due to the proliferation of evil cultivators in Tiger City and the fierce fighting just now, all the people were hiding in their homes. There was silence all around. The evil cultivator's base is among them. After saying that, Shulong came to a courtyard and opened the wooden board in the center of the courtyard. Under the wooden board, there was a dark hole. Everyone, follow me in to find out. At this time, Shulong said to everyone. Just when Li Miaoling wanted to go in, Yilin grabbed Li Miaoling's arm and then looked at Shulong. At this time, a panel appeared in front of you. Name, Shulong. Cultivation. Early stage of foundation building. Fate, white. Numerology, none. Destiny. The evil demon used a secret method to improve his cultivation, but he was in the late stage of foundation building. He was killed by Chu Shui, the 10th elder of Qingyan sect, 3 years later. Recent opportunity. Go to the Golden City in 3 days and find 3 middle-grade spiritual stones under the plane trees in the Golden City. Junior brother, what's wrong? Seeing her arm being held tightly by Yilin, Li Miaoling looked at Yilin with confusion on her face, her eyes full of confusion. What's wrong, junior brother Lin? At this time, Shi Jian also saw something wrong with Yilin's face and asked with concern. Aren't you going to show off your cards yet? Shu Long. At this time, Yilin said to Shu Long. Should I show my cards? What show of cards? The evil cultivator's base is right here. Hearing this, panic flashed across Shu Long's face, but the next moment, he immediately calmed down. From the very beginning, I noticed something was wrong with you. You said you knew about the evil cultivator's base. However, the 3 of you are all disciples of the Tianjian sect. You must have come to Hucheng as a group this time. When you said that you knew the evil cultivator's base, Xiaoyu and Xu Yin had blank expressions on their faces. Obviously, they didn't know about this, but how did you know? After Yilin finished speaking, Xu Yin and Xiaoyu suddenly realized that the matter was urgent just now and they had no time to think about it. Now that they think about it, it is really the case. The 3 of them entered the Tiger City at one time. Shu Long was inseparable from the 2 of them. As soon as they entered the city, they discovered the evil cultivator's transaction during the search, and then they were discovered. In the end, they were besieged by the evil cultivators, but in the end, they had never been to the so-called evil cultivator's base, and they had no idea about it. And how did Shu Long know this? Shu Long, tell the truth. How did you know? Or have you already become a lackey of the evil cultivator? At this time, Xu Yin's face was serious. He drew his sword and put it in front of Shu Long's neck, questioning. I didn't expect that. I underestimated you after all. At this time, Shu Long looked at Yilin with some deep meaning. Yes, I have indeed become Lord Evil's servant. You have no idea how powerful Lord Evil is. In the end, you will all be desperate, ha ha ha. As for you, just wait to die. After saying that, Shu Long's body was filled with black energy, and even Yilin couldn't help but frown due to the strong demonic energy. And Shu Long's strength also increased from the early stage of foundation building to the middle stage of foundation building. Farewell. After saying that, Shu Long turned into a streak of demonic energy and disappeared into the distance. The skill of wielding a sword is like a rainbow piercing the sun. At this time, Xiaoyu gave a sweet shout, pointed her jade hand, flashed a sword light, and chased Shu Long with a long sword. Junior sister, I don't want to kill you. At this time, Shu Long's voice came from far away, and there was a loud noise. The flying sword that had just flown out suddenly broke. Xiaoyu's face suddenly changed, and she clutched her chest and looked in extreme pain. That was her natal flying sword. If the flying sword was broken, she would not feel well. This fool. Xu Yin gritted his teeth and said that Shu Long entered the Tianjian sect with him. Now that Shu Long has become the demon's lackey, he feels uncomfortable at this time. You made me laugh, senior fellow apprentices. I will report this matter to the elders of the sect, and we will leave first. As for this evil cultivation base, it must be fake. It is probably a trap. Please be careful, senior fellow apprentices. Xu Yin cupped his fists and saluted Yilin and the others. After taking a look at the cave entrance, he pulled Xiaoyu Yujian and flew away. Junior brother, are we still going down here? At this time, Shi Jian looked at the cave entrance in front of him and looked at Yilin. After what happened just now, Shi Jian has gradually respected Yilin. Then Shu Long wants to lure us down, so this trap must be activated by someone. I will take the lead later, you follow me. After Yilin finished speaking, he jumped down. Seeing this, Shi Jian followed Yilin and Li Miaoling walked at the rear. Walking along a dark cave entrance, after a few laps, they came to a small underground cave. All around, there were various corpses, with broken limbs and arms, which looked extremely terrifying. It would not be a pity for these fools to die 1,000 times. Seeing this situation, how could Shi Jian not know what was going on? This was obviously the place where the magic beads were refined. Yilin searched around and found nothing suspicious. This is not the evil base at all, it is just a place to refine the magic beads. After reading it, Li Miaoling came to a conclusion. Let's go. After searching in vain, Yilin said slightly. Okay, let's go. After the 3 of them came out, Yilin mobilized all his spiritual power and punched the cave entrance several times. The entire passage collapsed and the ground shook slightly. Let them sleep forever. To be honest, Yilin was not in a very good mood at this time. The evil demon was so cruel that he must be killed. In this case, our mission is completed, let's go back to the sect. At this time, Shi Jian cut off all the marks on the shoulders of the evil cultivators around him and returned to the sect to receive the reward. As long as the evil cultivator has been baptized by the devil's energy, a black mark will appear on his shoulder, which is where the devil's energy is. The devil's energy in the body of the evil demon is not compatible with humans, and it will turn into a mark on the shoulder. Junior brother, junior sister, I will go to receive the reward first, and then we will share it equally. After Shi Jian finished speaking, Yilin and Li Miaoling nodded one after another. After arriving at Dufeng, Yilin sat cross-legged in his residence. Putting the spirit gathering array in front of him, the spiritual energy around him began to gather towards Yilin. Ha! Shulong's panel and senior sister Li's panel both point directly to the Golden City. Could it be that the Golden City is the real base of evil cultivators? As a base of evil cultivators, it must be occupied by evil cultivators. Moreover, the person on Shulong's panel will be wiped out by Master in 3 years, which means that my previous guesses are all correct. 3 years later, the Tianjian sect attacked the Qingyan sect, which was the war started by the evil demons. After sorting everything out, Yilin took out the middle-grade spirit stone and began to practice. Now the only way is to quickly improve one's own strength. Only when the strength is improved, all difficulties will be solved. The time of practice is always extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, a night passes in a flash. Ha! It's time to take Shulong's chance today, Golden City, be careful this time. Yilin weighed the hidden god pearl in his hand and muttered to himself, as long as the hidden god pearl is there, as long as it is not a Jindan stage evil demon, you can go. Let it go. Yilin got up and walked out of the sect. Along the way, there were all kinds of mortals carrying luggage to escape from the famine. They were all destroyed by the evil demons. Even the evil demons that were a headache for several major sects were devastating to these mortals. After an hour of rushing, Yilin arrived at Golden City. Golden City was a famous city and one of the 10 major cities occupied by the Zhao family. What caught his eye was a giant city gate that was 10 meters high. There were mysterious lines flowing on the city gate. Even a foundation building cultivator would not be able to open it with brute force. All around, there were soldiers in armor, holding spears in their hands, looking forward, and looking very majestic. The last time I came to the Golden City, I was blinded by chance. This time, I saw that the big city is indeed a big city. Just the surface work alone is not comparable to those small cities. When I stepped into the city, I saw people rushing around. Hey, brother, you are here again. What are you going to see this time? Or go to Yuanbaojai. By the way, you were cheated in Yuanbaojai last time, right? At this time, an old man with extremely wretched appearance and thin stature came to Yilin and winked. Yilin turned his head and saw this person. When he saw this person, he was speechless. This guy was Wang Laoliu who led him to the Golden City last time. Do you know where the sycamore tree is in the Golden City? Hearing this, Wang Laoliu was stunned, his eyes rolled straight, as if thinking about something. There is a sycamore tree, I wonder if it is the one you said. At this time, Wang Laoliu touched his standard mustache and said slowly. Tell me the location, and you will get the benefit. At this time, Yilin took out a low-grade spirit stone and threw it to Wang Laoliu. The moment Wang Laoliu saw the low-grade spirit stone, his eyes turned red, and he immediately grabbed the spirit stone and put it in his palm and looked at it. Go ahead, walk straight for 1,000 meters from here, turn left and walk straight for 3,000 meters, and you will naturally see a phoenix tree. There is only one phoenix tree in the Golden City, so it must be the one you should find. Wang Laoliu looked at the spirit stone in his hand and said casually. Okay, if you don't find it, I won't forgive you. Yilin scared him for a moment, and then walked to the location Wang Laoliu said. After walking there, as expected, a tall phoenix tree was planted in the distance. When he came to the phoenix tree, Yi Lin squatted down slightly, and as expected, he found a tree hole at the bottom of the tree, and 3 medium-grade spirit stones were placed in the tree hole. Now I have 5 middle-grade spirit stones. If I absorb them all, I have a great hope of entering the middle stage of foundation building. By the way, there is also the opportunity of Senior Sister Li in half a month, the foundation building demon pill on the evil cultivator. However, if there is an evil cultivator base in this golden city, the power must be very large. What a rampant evil cultivator! Yi Lin thought in his heart while holding the 3 spirit stones. It is conceivable how huge the evil cultivator's power must be to be able to establish a base in the city under the jurisdiction of the Zhao family. Forget it, let's return to the sect first, refine these spirit stones first, and strive to enter the middle stage of foundation building as soon as possible. After saying that, Yi Lin walked out of the Golden City and walked towards Qingyan sect. When he arrived at Qingyan sect, Yi Lin found Lin Zisheng standing at the door of the inner gate mission pavilion of the sect, thinking about something. At this time, a panel appeared in front of Yi Lin, and he wanted to see how Lin Zisheng was now. Name: Lin Zisheng. Cultivation: middle stage of foundation building. Fate: purple incomplete. Numerology: good luck, King of Swords, comprehension of gods, Son of Heaven, reincarnation of the powerful. Destiny: stopped at the peak of the combined way, and was struck to death by thunder when he wanted to break through the tribulation period, and his soul dissipated. Recent opportunity 1. Tomorrow, I will go to Lanyan Cave in the 10,000 miles mountain with Huang Rian to kill the middle stage of foundation building spider. In Lanyan Cave, I found the Zon level middle grade elixir, broken mirror pill, and after swallowing it, I violently stepped into the late stage of foundation building. Recent opportunity 2. 10 days later, on the way to the killing sect, I picked up 3 middle-grade spirit stones at the gate of the killing sect. Recent opportunity 3. 1 month later, I got the Zon-level middle-grade longsword in Longshuan Cave, and my combat power has greatly increased since then. Good luck. You have good luck. You can always pick up opportunities when walking on the road. Even if you encounter a life and death crisis, you can turn danger into safety. Kendo Champion. A natural swordsman. You have a better understanding of Kendo than ordinary people and have made rapid progress in Kendo. Comprehension. Superb comprehension. You are very fast in understanding various techniques. For the same technique, others need 3 months, but you only need a few days. Son of Heaven. You are favored by the destiny of heaven. There is no bottleneck in your cultivation. Breaking through is as easy as eating and drinking. Reincarnation of the Great Power. You are the reincarnation of the great power in the immortal world, but your soul was damaged and your memory was sealed. After the nascent soul stage, your memory was unsealed. From then on, it was like a carp leaping over the dragon gate, and everything went smoothly. Looking at Lin Zisheng's panel, Yi Lin touched his chin. He is in the middle stage of foundation building. That's right. If it had developed normally, Lin Zisheng would have broken through the middle stage of foundation building 2 months ago. Because he had been plundering opportunities, Lin Zisheng's cultivation had always remained in the early stage of foundation building. Longshuan Cave. Seeing the 3rd opportunity panel, Yi Lin frowned. What is Longshuan Cave? Why don't I have any impression of it? At this time, Lin Zisheng seemed to notice Yi Lin, but he just looked at Yi Lin coldly and left in a hurry. After Lin Zisheng left, Yi Lin walked into the mission pavilion. Brother Yi. At this time, Sun Xiao looked at Yi Lin with a surprised face. Brother, why did Brother Lin come here just now? At this time, Yi Lin asked Sun Xiao in front of him. Brother Lin has been taking tasks frequently recently. It seems that he is short of spiritual stones. Moreover, he brought a lot of evil cultivator marks to exchange for rewards yesterday. Hearing this, Yi Lin sneered in his heart. What's the use of Lin Zisheng's resources? This thing is known to him after a casual thought. This thing has been hoarding a lot of resources recently, just to go to the killing sect to ask assassins to assassinate him. The killing sect is a killer sect, and each killer has a clear price tag, which is ridiculously expensive. By the way, junior brother, do you know Longshuan Cave? Longshuan Cave. After hearing this, Sun Xiao was stunned, and then immediately reacted. Of course I know. 100 years ago, there was a huge sect in this area of 10,000 miles. There was a legendary Yuanying stage master sitting in it, suppressing the four directions, and no one disobeyed. At that time, the huge sect was extremely powerful for a while, but in the end, the force suddenly became extinct, and all the disciples died. A huge cave appeared in their sect, and the cave opened every 5 years. It is rumored that there are treasures left by the huge sect in the cave, but there is a barrier in Longshuan Cave, and Jindan stage cultivators cannot enter. At that time, in order to compete for the ownership of Longshuan Cave, the major sects fought bloody battles, and finally a great man discovered that it would not be good for anyone to keep fighting like this. After that, the major forces made treaties one after another. When Longshuan Cave opened, the major forces could send their own disciples to enter it to search for treasures. But now it seems that the day when Longshuan Cave opens is approaching. After saying that, Sun Xiao touched his chin and thought, and then suddenly realized. By the way, senior brother Yi, every time you enter Longshuan Cave, each sect can only send 3 disciples, and this time, you will definitely be among them. If I remember correctly, Longshuan Cave seems to be next month or something. It's very close anyway. Thank you. Hearing this, Yi Lin nodded slightly. If there were only 3 people in each sect, it would be him, Li Miaoling and Lin Zisheng. Although Lin Zisheng's chances of being beaten by him were greatly reduced. But that's not something an ordinary disciple with a white destiny can afford. Now, the only one who can stabilize Lin Zisheng's fate is Li Miaoling, but this woman is usually very low-key. Okay, thank you, junior brother Sun. In that case, I'm leaving. Brother, walk slowly. Looking at Yi Lin's back, Sun Xingxin sighed. They are all direct disciples, why is the gap so big? Lin Zisheng was in front of him just now and kept scorning him. He could only dare to be angry but dare not say anything. But look at how polite our senior brother Yi is. Hey, people, Lanyan Cave. Standing outside the sect, Yi Lin thought for a moment that the Breaking Realm pill was an extremely abnormal pill. Once swallowed, he could unconditionally break through a small realm. Of course, this kind of elixir is also extremely rare. The refining method is the most difficult to refine among other elixirs, and the medicinal materials required are even more precious. If I had this realm-breaking pill, I would be absolutely sure that I could break through the middle stage of foundation building within 10 days. By then, if I really want to enter the Dragon Mystic Cave, I would be invincible. Yi Lin squeezed his palms and then walked towards the 100,000 miles mountain. Lin Zisheng has now reached the middle stage of foundation building, and his foundation is unstable, so he does not dare to risk stepping into the Lanyan Cave alone. For him, the monsters in the middle stage of foundation building are completely killable. In order to kill me, Lin Zisheng lost his mind. As he walked, Yi Lin thought in his mind that Lin Zisheng's foundation was now unstable, and the panel showed that when Lin Zisheng got the realm-breaking pill, he immediately swallowed it and violently broke through the pill. The consequence of this kind of operation is that the foundation is extremely unstable, and there are also hidden dangers that threaten the spiritual roots. Once the realm falls and the spiritual roots are broken, there is no place to cry. There is no shortcut to cultivation. This must be Lanyan Cave. Looking at the huge dark hole in front of him, Yi Lin murmured, then squatted down and looked at the ground, which was wet. It just so happens that with the realm-breaking pill plus the mid-grade spirit stone, and a mid-stage foundation building demon pill, by then, even if my realm breaks through, it will be extremely stable. At this time, Yi Lin's eyes were full of killing intent, and he took out the long sword from the space ring, and the long sword was flying around. He also knows how to control a sword, but he can't use it in public. The art of sword control is divided into 4 levels. The first level, sword. Second level, sword control. The third floor, Chenghong Guanri. The fourth level, 10,000 swords return to the clan. The first 2 floors are extremely easy to enter, and Yi Lin has just stepped into the point where the rainbow shines through the sun. Chenghong Guanri is a move. Once used, the long sword can explode 5 times its own speed. The higher the speed, the stronger the power. After giving up, Yi Lin rushed into Lanyan Cave, and the long sword flew around Yi Lin. By the time he reached the foundation building stage, he could already control the flying sword easily, not necessarily smoothly. The Lanyan Cave is very shallow, but the surroundings of the cave are extremely humid. Along the way, the ground is muddy, and drops of liquid fall from time to time above the head. Hiss. At this time, Yi Lin suddenly stopped and slowly turned his head to look. At some point, a huge black spider crawled on top of his head behind him, with 8 red eyes staring at him. Hiss. The next moment, the black spider opened its extremely terrifying mouth, and a white spider silk flew towards Yi Lin. The devil disappears without a trace. Yi Lin thought silently in his mind and dodged. The seemingly soft spider thread penetrated directly into the ground, and countless cracks spread in all directions. The rainbow penetrates the sun. At this time, Yi Lin shouted coldly, and slashed at the giant spider with 2 fingers of his right hand. Suddenly, a sword sound resounded throughout the cave, and the sharp sword light directly cut off one of the spider's legs. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The spider roared in pain, and the next moment, Yi Lin covered his head in pain. The spider's howl contained some kind of mental shock, which made him extremely uncomfortable. Stop barking, tiger roaring in the forest. Suddenly, Yi Lin was surrounded by bursts of tiger roars. After devouring the blood soul fruit, his soul was stronger than the ordinary foundation building stage and could barely resist. Suddenly, a fiery red flame wrapped around Yi Lin's arm. After seeing the fiery red flames, the giant spider took a few steps back. Obviously, it was afraid of fire. And this small move happened to be noticed by Yi Lin. So you're afraid of fire? That'll be easy. After saying that, Yi Lin rushed towards the spider, his body burning with phoenix fire, and punched its head. At this time, a white wall composed of several threads appeared in front of the spider. Yi Lin punched it and his whole arm suddenly trembled. What a strong defense. Come again, roaring tigers in the mountains and forests. Accompanied by a fierce tiger roar, he punched with his right hand, and the spider silk barrier just now was also destroyed by Yi Lin's punch. At this moment, the giant spider began to slip towards the entrance of the cave. The rainbow penetrates the sun. Yi Lin pointed with his left hand, and a sword light flew towards the spider. 7 killing fists, kill. Boom. In 2 flanking attacks, Yi Lin was wrapped with phoenix fire, punched the spider in the head, and the long sword directly penetrated the spider's body. 3 swords of life and death, kill. Yi Lin grabbed the long sword, and the whole long sword was wrapped in fiery red flames. Seeing this, the spider, which had been seriously injured, wanted to escape. During the entire process, it was directly suppressed by Yi Lin's phoenix fire, and had no power to resist at all. If it had been at the early stage of foundation building, it would have been instantly killed by it. Still want to run? It's too late. Seeing the spider's movements, Yi Lin sneered. A sword of yin and yang. Yi Lin's body speed increased sharply, and before the spider could react, he inserted a sword into the spider's mind. At this time, the shadow of a black long sword did not enter the back of the spider's head. Hiss. At this time, a violent scream suddenly came out. Suddenly, Yi Lin's head was dizzy and hallucinations appeared in front of his eyes. Psychic attacks are so difficult to deal with. Yi Lin gritted his teeth, and streams of phoenix fire were output from his body, directly entering the spider's mind. Just a few seconds passed, and the spider that was roaring just now fell to the ground with no breath at all. No, my soul is really weak now. Just a mental attack from a monster in the middle stage of foundation building makes me extremely uncomfortable. If it's in the late stage of foundation building, wouldn't I not even have the chance to fight back? Looking at the spider corpse in front of him, Yi Lin pondered in his heart. Mental attacks are the most difficult to deal with, and you can't run away. The way to resist mental attacks is, first, the soul is very powerful, so powerful that no mental attack can interfere with you. The second is to have the corresponding secret method to resist mental attacks. But which secret method can withstand mental attacks is not worth 1,000 pieces of gold. Even the Qingyun sect does not have one. Now that I have the blood soul fruit, even with the blessing of acquired breath soil, time is very slow to achieve results. It seems that I can only pay more attention to the mysterious magic in the future. A sword cut open the spider's mind, and holding the demon pill in his hand, Yi Lin pondered for a while. Then he walked to the depths of Lanyan Cave and came to the depths of Lanyan Cave. In the deep cave, there was a small wooden box sandwiched in a gap on the wall. Yi Lin pulled out the small wooden box and took it in his hand, slowly opening it. Suddenly, a burst of red fragrance rushed into his mouth and nose, and even the realm was faintly loosened. Sure enough, it's a middle-grade zone-level realm-breaking pill. Seeing this, Yi Lin received the elixir into the space ring. Now he already has the realm-breaking elixir and the mid-stage foundation-building demon elixir. With the help of mid-grade spiritual stones, he is enough to break through to the mid-stage foundation-building stage. The stronger he becomes, the more at ease he feels. After getting what he wanted, Yi Lin came to Qingyan sect without stopping. He began to plan to practice in seclusion and achieve a breakthrough in one fell swoop. At this time, a figure came towards me. Junior brother Yi, where have you been? Senior brother Shi Jian is looking for you everywhere. At this time, Li Miaoling looked at Yi Lin and said, Senior brother Shi Jian, what does he want from me? Yi Lin's face was full of doubts. He and Shi Jian had nothing to do with each other. Look at your brain, have you forgotten about the rewards for evil cultivators? Here, this is your share, 100 low-grade spiritual stones. At this time, Li Miaoling threw a cloth bag to Yi Lin, and Yi Lin grabbed it. 100 low-grade spiritual stones. Yi Lin was a little surprised. The number of evil cultivators they killed was either too many or too few. If they were divided equally between the three of them, they would have received a total of 300 low-grade spiritual stones at that time. That's right, I didn't expect that the reward for the evil cultivator would be so large, but the sect asked me to prepare to go to Tianjian sect to collect resources in the past few days. I believe you will go too. Collecting resources. Senior sister, can you explain? Hearing this, Li Miaoling patted her head in embarrassment. I forgot that junior brother was promoted to direct successor not long ago, so I will explain it to junior brother. Today, the 3 major sects and the 4 major families are all headed by our Qingyan sect. Therefore, they must hand over 1/10 of their income to our Qingyan sect every year. So, now is the time to collect resources once a year. In the past, all major disciples went there, so this time, you must be there too. Senior sister, I am going to Tianjian sect. I don't know where you will be allocated, junior brother. Quote. However, senior sister reminds you, don't be assigned to the 4 major families. They are selfish and greedy. In the past, it took a long time. After Li Miaoling finished speaking, Yi Lin finally understood that it turned out that Qingyan sect, as the apparent overlord, had to collect corresponding resources from the major surrounding forces every year, which could be regarded as protection fees. The 3 major sects and the 4 major aristocratic families are all sent by personal disciples. If the small forces are small, they will send inner disciples. That's it. When senior sister said this, I became much clearer. Yi Lin nodded, seeming to be thinking about something in his heart. Senior sister, be careful on this trip. Xu Long, a direct disciple of the Tianjian sect, has fallen into the embrace of evil spirits. The current Tianjian sect may not be peaceful. At this time, Yi Lin said slightly to Li Miaoling. The top leaders of the major sects have been bewitched by evil spirits. Except for the Qingyan sect, which has been confirmed, the other forces are all within his speculation, but it is always good to be careful. Do you care about me? At this time, Li Miaoling suddenly approached Yi Lin, stared into Yi Lin's eyes and said, Senior sister, as a fellow disciple, this is what you should do. Yi Lin remained motionless and spoke solemnly. TCH, senior sister knew it without teasing. After speaking, Li Miaoling walked forward with her hands behind her back. At this time, a panel appeared in front of Yi Lin. Name, Li Miaoling. Cultivation level, middle stage of foundation building. Fate, purple. Numerology, covered by luck, pure body, leader of swordsmanship. Fate, stopped at the peak of Yuanying, and was eventually assassinated to death by Yuanying monks from the other 3 major human races. Recent opportunity 1. 4 days later, on behalf of the Qingyan sect, I went to the Tianjian sect to collect resources. In the Tianjian sect, I saw a piece of jade bamboo. After seeing the jade bamboo, I immediately had an epiphany. 3 days later, the way of swordsmanship entered the realm of great achievement. Recent opportunity 2. 18 days later, I went to the Golden City at the foot of the mountain to slay demons, and found the foundation-building demon elixir from an evil cultivator. After swallowing and refining it, my cultivation in the middle stage foundation-building period was greatly stabilized. 3 recent opportunities. 18 days later, I went to the Golden City to slay demons. In the evil cultivator base of the Golden City, I discovered a high-grade black gold treasure. Luck-ridden. You are the luckiest person and the darling of luck. Good luck can always help you avert danger when you encounter it. Innocent body. It is naturally suitable for cultivation. There are no impurities in the body. There are no bottlenecks in cultivation. Kendo leader. You always have a better understanding of Kendo than ordinary people, and you can always make rapid progress in Kendo. Looking at Li Miaoling's opportunity, Yilin touched his chin. He knew that black gold could be incorporated into a weapon to greatly increase its hardness. Zong level and Huang level weapons compete for hardness. The harder they are, the stronger the weapons. The fate is still the same. In other words, there is no danger on this trip. Yilin touched his chin. Li Miaoling's two opportunities pointed directly at the Golden City. In other words, this Golden City had a big secret. Arriving at the top of Dufeng Peak, Chu Shui was already waiting at the top. Master. Yilin cupped his fists and saluted Chu Shui. Only then did Chu Shui turn around. In 3 days, you go down the mountain to the Long family in the heavily armored city to collect resources. Hearing this, Yilin was stunned. Just now, his junior sister told him that he could not die in a family, but now his master actually sent him to that family. Master, can you send me to the Holy King sect? At this time, Yilin tentatively said that the aristocratic family is extremely difficult to deal with. He is a person who is very afraid of trouble. If he can solve it quickly, he will solve it quickly. Now you are the strongest among the 6 descendants, and the Long family has been restless in recent years, and the resources they have given us are getting less and less. The purpose of sending you this time is to beat them up. Don't worry, if they make things difficult for you, they will only send the younger generation to make things difficult for you. As for the older generation, they don't have the guts to break up with the Qingyan sect. After you go, be as strong as you want. It's best to use all your strength to suppress their spirit. After saying that, Chu Shui burst out with an extremely powerful aura. Under this aura, it became extremely difficult for Yilin to breathe. This time, he experienced the difference between the Golden Core stage and the Foundation Establishment stage. If the Chu Shui in front of him wants to kill him, he only needs to wave his hand gently, and he will have no power to resist. In that case, I will go to the Long family for a visit. At this time, Yilin nodded slowly and said. Seeing this, Chu Shui nodded with satisfaction. I have always judged people very accurately. As the number 1 member of the younger generation of our Qingyan sect, and also my disciple of Chu Shui, no matter what your usual style is. I hope you will appear stronger in front of other sects, and don't let other sects think that our Qingyan sect is weak. Hearing this, Yilin looked helpless. He had been developing in a low-key manner. He also wanted to make a fortune in a low-key manner and be more ostentatious. It was not his character. Seeing as your aura has reached its peak, you must be breaking through to the middle stage of foundation building. Take these 3 meditation pills to avoid any mistakes in your breakthrough. Thank you, Master. Yilin raised his hand and took the 3 Jingxin pills. The function of the Jingxin pill is to calm down the mind. When making a breakthrough, you should not think wildly to avoid going crazy. 3 days are enough to break through the middle stage of foundation building. In this way, the trip to the Long family must be perfect. Remember, when you go to the Long family, you must pretend to be superior to others. Crush them completely. Only in this way can they recognize who is the real overlord in this thousands of miles around. After Chu Shui finished speaking, Yilin felt no emotion at all. He had been brainwashed so many times in his previous life that he was automatically immune to this kind of emotional push. Okay, Master, I understand. At this time, Yilin nodded and said slightly, you can't blame Chu Shui for being like this. Now, as far as he knows, the 3 major sects and the 4 major aristocratic families have gradually begun to want to establish themselves as kings, and they no longer care about the apparent overlord of Qingyan sect. So Chu Shui wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to suppress the other forces. It was very likely that she was building momentum for the upcoming Longshuan cave. Okay, it's good to know. That's it, then go ahead and break through. Yes, Master. After bowing to Chu Shui, Yilin turned around and walked towards his residence. When he arrived at his residence, Yilin directly activated the spirit gathering array, and immediately, an extremely rich spiritual energy began to flow into his body. First swallow the demon pill to completely complete the initial stage of foundation building, and at the same time raise your state to the peak, and then use the realm-breaking pill and the calming pill. In this way, there is nothing wrong. After saying that, Yi Lin took out the mid-stage foundation building demon pill and swallowed it in one gulp. Suddenly, an extremely violent spiritual power began to rush through his body. But Yi Lin is no longer the same Yi Lin who once practiced qi. After running the star kung fu, the violent spiritual power suddenly became like a well-behaved baby, flowing through his veins. All the debris in the veins were crushed by this huge spiritual power, and at the same time, every shin bone in Yi Lin was strengthened. It's now. At this time, Yi Lin snorted coldly, and then swallowed the breaking realm pill and the 3 Jingxin pills in one gulp. At this time, a loud noise came from the Taoist platform. The Taoist platform, which was originally as big as the mouth of a bowl, was now getting bigger. If the Taoist platform in the early stage of foundation building is as big as the mouth of a bowl, then the Taoist platform in the middle stage of foundation building is as big as a bucket. The level of spiritual liquid contained in it is not of the same level at all. As the Taoist platform slowly expanded, the spiritual fluid that could originally be fully loaded began to gradually become scarce, and a large part of it was absorbed by the Taoist platform. Seeing this, Yi Lin seemed to be prepared and took out 5 medium-grade spiritual stones, and began to absorb it with all its strength. The Taoist platform that was nourished by spiritual power suddenly began to expand rapidly. In the blink of an eye, 2 days passed. Break. Yi Lin, who had been in seclusion for 2 days, suddenly opened his eyes and shouted softly. Immediately, he heard a vague sound coming from his body, and Yi Lin's whole body momentum increased. In the middle stage of foundation building, the Taoist platform has expanded, and the amount of spiritual liquid contained in it has also increased. Moreover, my body's strength have been enhanced. I have become more comfortable controlling the 5 elements. Moreover, if I use a few sets of martial arts now, with my current spiritual power reserves, I won't have to face the same dilemma of running out of spiritual power. At this time, Yi Lin murmured to himself. The last time when Li Miaoling and I killed the monsters in the middle stage of foundation establishment, we ended up in an embarrassing situation where we ran out of spiritual energy because we used all of our ultimate moves. If there had been another monk in the early stage of foundation building, he could have killed him. But now, it's no longer possible. Even if I'm at full strength, it's enough to let me spend as much as I want for a while. But, is this a 5th grade Taoist platform? It's really abnormal. The size of an ordinary monk's Taoist platform in the middle stage of foundation building is no more than the size of a bucket. And mine is the size of a water tank. At this time, Yi Lin showed a smile on his face. The size of his Taoist platform and the amount of spiritual fluid it carries are 10 times that of an ordinary mid-stage foundation building monk. In other words, he lasts longer than other ordinary foundation building monks. 2 days have passed now. The day after tomorrow is the day to go to the Long family. Master asked me to be high profile, so I will be high profile. Is it enough for the early stage of foundation building? By the way, let's take this time to see if we can break through the tiger roaring forest to the 2nd level. He was confident that he would be number 1 among the younger generation of the Qingyan sect, but could the quality of the Long family disciples be as good as that of the Qingyan sect? After saying that, Yi Lin stood up and walked towards the back of Dufeng Peak. There was a special martial arts training ground there. There was not one before, but now there is. It seemed that Chu Shui built it specially for himself. This made his heart warm. It was so good to have a caring master. Tiger roaring mountain forest. When I came to the martial arts training ground, there were all kinds of wooden stakes everywhere. These wooden stakes were made of special wood and could not be damaged even by a full blow in the early stage of foundation building. Boom! Just hearing the sound of roaring tigers coming from the martial arts training ground, a wooden stake in front broke directly and flew into the distance. Not enough. In this way, Yi Lin worked tirelessly all day and night. Tiger roaring mountain forest. In the distance, a phantom of a tiger suddenly appeared. Just by looking at it, you could feel an oncoming pressure. The next moment, the 5 straight wooden stakes in front of Yi Lin suddenly shattered into pieces. That's right, it was broken into pieces. Even the wooden stakes that couldn't be destroyed in the early stage of foundation building were smashed into pieces by Yi Lin. The second level of Tiger Roaring Forest, success. Now, once I use Tiger Roaring Forest, I can burst out 5 times my own strength. Who can stop me? Yi Lin restrained his aura and smiled. Obviously, he was very satisfied with his own strength. By the way, I haven't seen the Fate for a long time. I don't know how it is. I don't know if Lin Zisheng's killer has been hired. Name: Yi Lin. Cultivation: mid-stage of foundation building. Fate: black, many disasters. Numerology: bad luck, insight. Fate: the seriously injured Lin Zisheng was healed by Elder Song with a large amount of elixirs. Lin Zisheng knew in his heart that he was no match for you now, but his brother's fall and his loss of face were all related to you. He couldn't swallow this breath in his heart, so he went to kill the sect, hired a killer to assassinate you. 15 days later, you met a killer in the middle stage of foundation building in the wild, and then you punched the killer to death. When Lin Zisheng knew about it, he was shocked, so he asked Song Changsheng for advice. The two conspired. 1 month later, in Longshuan Cave, Lin Zisheng summoned 2 friends from Tianjian sect and Shengguang sect to surround and kill you. You fought 1 against 3, but you were defeated. Then Lin Zisheng used a hidden weapon to seriously injure you. You fled desperately, and finally fell into a state of decline, and the Dao platform was broken. You could not improve half a step in this life, and you have been hidden in the dust since then. Recent opportunities: none. Bad luck, such as falling down when walking, and being cheated on when getting married. Comprehension: superb comprehension, extremely fast in understanding various exercises. For the same exercise, others need 3 months, but you only need a few days. Looking at his own fate, Yi Lin touched his chin. With his current strength, the killer in the middle stage of foundation building is not a concern at all. 3 people's siege. Interesting, 3 mid-stage foundation building cultivators. But the most important thing is that Lin Zisheng's hidden weapon can actually seriously injure me, and even break my Taoist platform. It's not an ordinary thing, but, hidden weapons. It's not like I don't have any. At this time, Yi Lin showed a mysterious smile on his face. Today is the day to collect resources. I don't know how strong the younger generation of the Long family is. At this time, Yi Lin walked out of the martial arts training ground and came to Dufeng. Standing on this single peak, you can have a panoramic view of the entire Qingyan sect. Gone, Yi Lin murmured in a low voice, and then a long sword was placed across the sole of his feet. Yi Lin stepped on the flying sword and flew towards the distance. In the center of the heavily armored city, there were several figures standing in a magnificent hall. The atmosphere in the entire hall was extremely solemn. This is where the Long family is located. Do you know who is the direct descendant of Qingyan sect who came to collect resources this time? At this time, a middle-aged man above the main hall asked the elders below. He is the head of the Long family, Long Zan. It is said that he is a new direct disciple. At this time, an elder under him said slightly, "New direct successor. Qingyan sect is paying less and less attention to us." In the past, the elders came in person, and later they came in person. Now, even cats and dogs dare to come. At this time, the middle-aged man in the main hall was filled with anger when he heard this. "Master, isn't this a good thing for us? 3 days ago, my son has broken through the middle stage of foundation building." At this time, the great elder below said with a smile. "Oh, is this serious?" Hearing this, Long Zan said with surprise on his face. "Of course, when the time comes, when the direct disciple of the Qingyan sect comes, I can let my son go and fight against him. If my son wins, he will have to go back to the Qingyan sect in despair." The great elder stroked his beard and said with a smile on his face, and the others breathed a sigh of relief. As for losing, they didn't even think about it. You know, the son of the great elder, Long Sheng, is the number 1 among the younger generation of their Long family, and can be called a legend. At the age of 18, he awakened the middle-grade spiritual root. At the age of 19, he entered the 9th level of Qi training. At the age of 20, he entered the early stage of foundation building. Now, at 21, he has entered the middle stage of foundation building. And he once defeated the monsters in the middle stage of foundation building with his strength in the early stage of foundation building, and finally retreated completely. In just 3 years, he achieved what most monks achieve in a lifetime. When my son broke through the early stage of foundation building, he cast a second-grade Taoist platform. But the Qingyan sect probably doesn't have a second-grade Taoist platform, right? After hearing the Great Elder's words, Long Zan laughed. No, the Great Elder's son will definitely have great achievements in the future. How can a small direct disciple of Qingyan sect be the opponent of Dragon Saint? When the time comes, we must let that kid go back in despair. This is the heavily armored city. It's really spectacular. Yi Lin, who was floating in midair with his flying sword, looked at the city wall made entirely of steel in front of him, with a look of surprise on his face. The city wall is entirely made of steel, and countless resources have been spent on it. It seems that the Long family is extremely rich. Then Yi Lin drove the flying sword and flew straight into the city. Master said that he should be high profile. If this is the case, then he should pretend to be more high profile. Yi Lin, a direct disciple of Qingyan sect, came to the Long family specially to collect resources. After lowering the flying sword, Yi Lin put his hands behind his hands and looked at the magnificent door in front of him, and said softly, "Crunch." At this time, the door was slowly opened, and a hunchbacked old man looked at Yi Lin with his turbid eyes. Is the person coming here the senior disciple of the Qingyan sect? Exactly. Realizing that the old man in front of him was just a mortal, Yi Lin frowned and said. He came in person, and the person who greeted him was just a mortal. It seemed that the Long family was quite courageous. For other forces, the status of the direct disciples of the Qingyan sect is the same as that of the elders. When a direct disciple arrives, at least he must be received by someone who is also an elder. Unexpectedly, the Long family only sent one mortal to receive him. The master of the house has already given instructions, please come with me. After the old man finished speaking, he walked in front, while Yi Lin followed behind the old man. After going around in circles, the two of them came to a large hall. Inside the main hall, they saw a middle-aged man who was not angry and proud, sitting on top of the hall. I've met Master Long. Yi Lin cupped his fists towards the middle-aged man and said, no matter what, he is still the leader of a large force, and Yi Lin still gives him the respect he deserves. You're welcome, Master Nephew Yi. I must be very tired from the long journey. Please sit down. There's no need to sit down. I believe that Master Long knows the purpose of my trip. I have important matters for this junior, so please don't waste time, Master Long. After Yi Lin finished speaking, a trace of anger flashed across the eyes of Long Zan, who was in a high position, and was immediately suppressed. Master Nephew Yi, don't be in a hurry. Long Zan waved his hand indifferently. Master, I heard from my father that a disciple from the Qingyan sect will come to my Long family today. Where are they? Where are they? At this time, a young man with a formidable aura and carrying a silver spear hurriedly came to the main hall and looked at Long Xuandao above the main hall. At this time, the young man turned around when he noticed Yi Lin beside him. Are you the direct disciple of the Qingyan sect? It's me. Hearing this, Yi Lin nodded. Hello, my name is Long Sheng. I am the son of the great elder of the Long family. I have long heard that all the disciples of the Qingyan sect are like dragons. I was very excited for a while, but I never expected that the fate would be like this. I wonder if this direct descendant dares to fight with me. Looking at the extremely arrogant young man in front of him, Yi Lin turned his attention to Long Zan on the high seat. Unexpectedly, at this time, Long Zan was holding a broken teacup and looking at it. Seeing this, Yi Lin sneered in his heart. This is a very calculating move. Just now, he sensed that the Dragon Saint in front of him was in the middle stage of foundation building. If it were any other direct disciple of Qingyan sect, he would probably be defeated. Except for Li Miaoling and Lin Zisheng, the rest of the disciples were in the early stage of foundation building. Once they lost, how could they still have the face to ask for resources? If the direct disciple of the dominant sect was defeated by the disciple of the subordinate sect, the reputation of Qingyan sect would suffer a major blow if it was told to others. Not to mention any resources, even if the Long family did not give them, Qingyan sect could not take action against the Long family, because in the eyes of the outside world, the disciples of Qingyan sect lost, and the elders took action, and Qingyan sect could not afford to lose. This is a dead end, and the key to breaking the deadlock is to defeat Dragon Saint. At this time, Yi Lin looked at Dragon Saint. Name: Dragon Saint. Cultivation: middle stage of foundation building. Fate: blue. Numerology: the leader of the spear path. Fate: stopped at the early stage of Yuanying, and was killed by the monster in the secret realm during an exploration of the secret realm. Recent opportunities: go to Golden City in 4 days and find a yellow grade top grade spiritual martial arts, Shuangguang Tower, in the department store of Golden City. After practicing, you can resist the spiritual attacks of late stage foundation building cultivators. Spear Dao leader. In the way of spear, you have amazing talent and can always make rapid progress. Looking at the opportunity of Longsheng in front of him, Yi Lin was secretly happy. Unexpectedly, I didn't expect that the spiritual martial arts that I had been thinking about would be found by myself. I accept your challenge. At this time, Yi Lin's face was as calm as water, and then he said, as long as you defeat Longsheng in front of you, the task assigned to you by the master will be successfully completed. Since the Long family is so confident in this Longsheng, then I will use my strength to shatter your confidence. Ha ha ha, okay, if that's the case, then go to the backyard martial arts field. At this time, Long Zan put down the teacup in his hand and stood up. You have courage, I hope you can make me feel a little pressure. Have you heard? A direct disciple of the Qingyan sect is going to compete with Mr. Longsheng. I've heard about it a long time ago. Come and have a look. They say that all Qingyan sect disciples are like dragons. It's just a good time to see his true strength. Huh, so what if everyone is like a dragon? Mr. Longsheng is not a vegetarian. It is said that Mr. Longsheng has broken through to the middle stage of foundation establishment. This so-called direct inheritance of Qingyan sect is only in the early stage of foundation establishment. Don't worry about whether these are available or not. Just go over and take a look and you'll find out. The news that Longsheng was going to compete with the direct disciples of the Qingyan sect had quickly spread throughout the Long family, and countless disciples went to the competition ground to watch the battle. At this time, in the center of the competition arena, on a huge arena, Yi Lin and Longsheng were looking at each other, while a large number of Long family disciples were watching the battle below. In the distant sky, Long Zan stood on the flying sword and looked at the entire arena. Seeing as you are in the middle stage of foundation building, I won't bully you. I will suppress your cultivation to the early stage of foundation building and fight you. Looking at Yi Lin exuding the cultivation level of the early stage of foundation building, Longsheng's face was filled with contempt. Is this the Qingyan sect's personal inheritance? The cultivation level of the early stage of foundation building is still worthy of being called a personal inheritance. Looking at such arrogant Dragon Saint, Yi Lin shook his head slightly. No, you can just come. I'm worried that after you suppress your cultivation, you won't even be able to take one of my moves. At this time, Yi Lin finished speaking to Longsheng, and the whole audience suddenly exploded. This Qingyan sect's cultivation is not good enough, and he speaks loudly. Master Longsheng gave him face, but he doesn't want it. Master Longsheng, destroy him. Really? At this time, Longsheng was also angry. Feel free to come. Okay, my spear has no eyes, so be careful. After Dragon Saint finished speaking, he waved his spear with both hands. He was filled with anger now and needed to vent it as much as possible. The first style of Luyun spear technique, thunder breaks through Qianjin. Hearing Dragon Saint's roar, a terrifying thunder coiled around the spear in his hand. Looking from a distance, one could sense the terrifying power contained in the thunder. Be careful. After Longsheng finished speaking, he stabbed Yi Lin in front of the door with a spear. Bursts of thunder were released, and there were waves of terror. Even if the monks who were in the middle stage of foundation building came here, they would not dare to take the Dragon Saint's move forcefully. It was really extremely violent. 7 killing fists, kill. Yi Lin shouted low, a blood-red mist wrapped around his right hand, and punched towards the tip of the Dragon Saint's spear. Court death. Seeing this, Longsheng sneered and used his fist to catch the tip of his spear. Isn't this looking for death? Boom. Hearing a loud noise, Yi Lin took a step back to remove all the strength from his body, while Long Sheng took 2 steps back and stuck the tip of his spear on the ring behind him to remove all the strength. At the same time, looking at his trembling arms, he was shocked inside. You know, Yi Lin did not use any weapons, but just relied on his own strength. How could he be so embarrassed? How is it possible? He was actually able to take a shot from Mr. Long Sheng head-on and remain unscathed. According to my analysis, this person must have suffered very serious internal injuries, but he did not show it. And after just one move, this person actually still had the upper hand. How could this person be so powerful? Looking at Yi Lin in the distance, Long Sheng had already decided to give up. With his initial cultivation level of foundation building, he took a shot from himself and even hit his arm to numbness. What on earth was it? But the next moment, he shook his head suddenly. No, I haven't taken it seriously yet. I'm already afraid. This is not me. Seeing the Dragon Saint in the distance, Yi Lin mobilized all his spiritual power and looked at the Dragon Saint. From now on, I'll finish you off with 2 punches. After Yi Lin finished speaking, a tiger's shadow wrapped around his body. Tiger roaring mountain forest. Suddenly, a huge tiger roar echoed through the entire martial arts arena, and the disciples below covered their ears in pain. Arrogance, the second style of Luyun spear, wave spear. At this time, Long Sheng snorted coldly, raised his spear and stabbed Yi Lin. The sound of waves came from all around, and at the same time, a powerful force from the Taoist platform poured into the spear. Boom! The two collided, and the huge air wave caused all the disciples watching the battle to retreat. At this time, the spear in Long Sheng's hand suddenly flew out of the martial arts arena and was inserted into the ground in the distance, while his body flew towards the edge of the ring. 7 killing fists. At this time, Yi Lin pursued the victory and punched Long Sheng in the chest. Long Sheng's body was like a kite with a broken string. He flew directly out of the ring and hit the ground in the distance. His life and death were unknown. At this time, the whole place was silent. Is this true? Come here, slap me. It's all fake. It's all fake. How could Mr. Long Sheng be defeated so easily? Long Zan, who was watching the battle from a distance, saw this scene and his expression froze. He never expected that the Dragon Saint, who he was so proud of, would be defeated by Yi Lin. Master Long, I think it's time to hand over these resources. At this time, Yi Lin turned his head and looked at Long Zan in the distance. That's it, nephew Yi, please come with me. Hearing this, Long Zan smiled and walked ahead, followed closely by Yi Lin. Master nephew Yi is indeed very powerful. I admire him. Seeing Long Zan's hypocrisy on the side, Yi Lin's expression remained unchanged, but in fact he was sneering in his heart. Junior brother Yi, please look, these are the resources that my Long family has given me, a total of 500 low-grade spirit stones, 10 medium-grade spirit stones, 50 yellow-grade low-grade pills, 20 yellow-grade medium-grade pills, and 5 yellow-grade high-grade pills. As for the medicinal materials and treasures, they are all in it. Looking at the pile of things in front of him, Long Zan introduced them with a painful face. And Yi Lin nodded. This is only 1/10 of what the Long family has gained in recent years. If it is multiplied by 10, these resources will just match what the Long family has gained in recent years. As for some errors, it doesn't matter. In that case, I'll take my leave. Yi Lin waved his hand, and all the resources in front of him disappeared. At this time, a strange color flashed in Long Zan's eyes. After collecting them, Yi Lin walked towards the outside world. The task assigned to him by his master on this trip has been completed, and there is no need to stay in this so-called Long family. Junior brother Yi, take care. Master Long won't see you off. After Yi Lin disappeared into the sky, Long Zan's face gradually darkened. At this time, the figure of the Great Elder appeared on the side. Master, my son's breath is weak now, all thanks to this kid, why don't you let me go and kill him? Stupid, he just left my Long family and met with an accident on the way. When that happens, Qingyan sect will think of us first. And this boy is so powerful, he must have a good status in Qingyan sect, not just a simple disciple. When that happens, my Long family will become the first target of Qingyan sect's suppression. Hearing this, Long Zan angrily shouted at the Great Elder on the side. However, when I break through the Jindan stage, I will find back everything I lost today. Qingyan sect, wait, Long Zan, will also get one of the overlord positions. Taking the resources, Yilin came to Qingyan sect. As soon as Yilin set foot on Dufeng, he saw Chu Shui standing on a big stone with her hands behind her hands, with a complicated expression on her face. Master, it's done. These are the resources handed over by the Long family this time. At this time, Yilin cupped his hands and saluted Chu Shui, then waved his hand, and a large number of resources appeared on the ground. I see, you did a good job, just go down with 3 middle-grade spiritual stones. Hearing this, Yilin's face was full of astonishment. These resources must pass through the hands of the sect leader, and no one else is qualified to interfere with them. And it was such a huge amount for 3 middle-grade spiritual stones. But the next moment, he understood that if the master did this, it meant that the secret contest between the master and the sect leader had officially begun. However, he didn't want to be involved in the secret contest between the 2 Jindan stage bosses. The less he knew, the safer he would be. Thank you, master. After putting away the 3 middle-grade spiritual stones, Yilin bowed to Chu Shui, and then walked towards the bottom of Dufeng. I hope you won't disappoint me. Today's Qingyan sect is full of chaos. The only person I can trust is you. No stamp. Looking at Yilin's back, Chu Shui murmured to herself, and that non-stamping mark was the most critical elixir to break through the golden elixir stage and cast the golden elixir. It's time to go to the Golden City. As long as I practice spiritual martial arts successfully, I won't have to worry about spiritual attacks anymore. Yilin was thinking in his heart while wielding his sword. Mental attacks are impossible to guard against. Once you master a high-level mental martial skill, a mid-stage foundation building monk can completely kill a late-stage foundation building monk. Arriving at the Golden City, Yilin stepped into it. Having been here twice, he had gradually become familiar with the terrain of the Golden City. The memory during the foundation building period is extremely terrifying, and photographic memory is child's play. Following his memory, Yilin walked all the way towards the center of the city. All the buildings with the same name were usually in the center of the city. Arriving at the center, Yilin looked around. Apparently, there was a tall building standing on the left-hand side. This tall building was incompatible with other buildings. And on the plaque at the door, there are 3 big characters written clearly, Department Store. As soon as Yilin walked into the department store, a very beautiful woman came up to him. Hello sir, my name is Li Yanran. What do you need? Where is the most valuable thing you have here? Yilin said to the woman in front of him. On the panel, Long Sheng came to this department store. He didn't pick up the lost money, he must have purchased it. Also, spiritual martial arts are so precious. Even high-grade Huang-level martial arts are more valuable than ordinary low-grade Zan-level martial arts. Sir, please come with me. Hearing this, Li Yanran's eyes lit up. It was obvious that she had met a big player. Following Li Yanran, the 2 of them arrived at the top floor and looked around. Every item here was separated by glass and was worth a lot of money. Sir, the items placed here are the most valuable items in our store. Please see what you need. Yilin nodded and then started looking around. Finally, at the very back, I found a simple book with 3 big characters written on it, Shuangguang Tower. How much is this? At this time, Yilin pointed at Shuangguang Tower and asked Li Yanran. Sir, these are worth 5 medium-grade spiritual stones. If you need it, sir, we can trade it. Hearing this, Yilin looked helpless. Sure enough, this thing is precious. 5 middle-grade spiritual stones, this is a posture that directly wipes out all his family wealth. However, Yilin finally gritted his teeth and took out 5 medium-grade spiritual stones and handed them to Li Yanran. I want this martial arts book, take it out for me. Okay sir, please wait a moment. Li Yanran put away the spirit stone with a happy face, and then slowly began to use special means to open the glass cover. Although he lost 5 middle-grade spiritual stones, Yilin didn't feel too distressed. After all, compared with spiritual martial arts, mid-grade spiritual stones are gone if they are gone. Sir, this is what you need. At this time, Li Yanran handed the Shuangguang Tower to Yilin. Thank you. After saying that, Yilin put away the Shuangguang Tower and walked towards the outside world. From the moment he stepped into the department store, He had been stared at by an aura from the late stage of foundation building, which made him feel uncomfortable all over. This made him sigh. This department store is not simple. Qingyan sect's personal biography. Not bad. In a room, an old man smiled slightly. Holding the Shuangguang pagoda, Yi Lin hurried to Dufeng, sat cross-legged in his residence, activated the spirit gathering array, opened the Shuangguang pagoda in his hand, and started reading. In the blink of an eye, half an hour passed. I see. At this time, Yi Lin closed the martial arts in his hand. The so-called Shuangguang Tower refers to condensing a pagoda in the mind to protect the soul. Once it is attacked mentally, the pagoda will automatically protect the soul and isolate all mental attacks. Spiritual martial arts are divided into defense and attack. Obviously, Shuangguang Tower is a defensive martial arts. Start practicing. While Yi Lin was practicing, on the other side, in a hall, Lin Zisheng looked at the masked man in front of him. Kill someone for me, Lin Zisheng said. Who to kill? The masked man asked. A direct disciple of the Qingyan sect, Yi Lin. Hearing this, the masked man clicked his tongue in surprise, with a face full of mockery. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect that a direct disciple of the Qingyan sect would come to my sect to hire a killer to assassinate another direct disciple. This is the first time I have seen such a scene in so many years. Hearing the masked man's words, Lin Zisheng snorted with an unnatural look on his face. Would you accept this job? Yes, of course I will accept it. There is money to be made, so why can't I accept it? At this time, the masked man smiled arrogantly. Yi Lin, let me see if you die this time. Lin Zisheng sneered inwardly. In the blink of an eye, 10 days passed. On this day, Yi Lin opened his eyes, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. This spiritual martial skill is indeed difficult to practice. Even I took 10 days to get started. Yi Lin murmured to himself that spiritual martial arts are much more difficult to practice than other martial arts, especially high-level spiritual martial arts. Even if you have it, you may not be able to practice it. But it's all worth it. Looking at the golden pagoda floating quietly in his mind, Yi Lin showed a smile on his face. From now on, he can resist all mental attacks at the golden core stage and below. As for those at the golden core stage and above, let alone mental attacks, he can't even catch a random slap. Disciple, are you here? At this time, Chu Shui's voice sounded outside the door. Master, I am here. At this time, Yi Lin hurried downstairs and opened the door, only to see Chu Shui wearing a white dress standing at the door. Master, please come in. Well, I'm here to tell you something. In half a month, the Longshuan cave will be opened. You must be prepared. Hearing this, Yi Lin nodded. Master, I have heard about Longshuan cave, but this matter does not require Master to go there in person, right? You don't understand, this time is different from the past. At this time, Chu Shui slowly sat on the stool, took the teacup next to her and started making tea for herself. Although there were some treasures in the Longshuan cave in the past, most of them were inconspicuous things and could not be put on the stage. But it is said that this time, there will probably be a high-grade Zon-level base flower in the Longshuan cave. I want you to help me get the base flower. Hearing this, Yi Lin was full of doubts. Master, what are those 100-color flowers? That base flower is very useful to me. If possible, you must take it out. When the time comes, I can exchange it with you for a treasure of the same grade. I will do my best to help you with what Master needs. Yi Lin bowed slightly to Chu Shui and said that Chu Shui was now his biggest backer and had given him a lot of help. He would definitely help her. That's good. I believe you. After Chu Shui finished speaking, she stood up and walked out of the house. Only the fragrant breeze in the air remained. Looking at Chu Shui's disappearing back, Yi Lin touched his chin. He didn't understand what this base flower was. Go to the mission pavilion. Buying spiritual martial arts has exhausted my family's wealth. I need to take on a few missions to earn some spirit stones to supplement it. Then Yi Lin stood up and walked towards the sect. After arriving at the sect, the inner disciples were in a hurry, as if something big had happened. Brother Yi. At this time, one of the disciples saw Yi Lin and clasped his fists in a salute. Well, what happened? Brother Yi, half of the population of Qingshan City was massacred by evil cultivators last night. Now there are various tasks to kill evil cultivators in the task pavilion, and each reward is extremely rich. So everyone is busy taking tasks. Hearing this, Yi Lin looked at the top of the single peak. Chu Shui had already known about the Qingshan City incident. Could it be that the tragedy was still not stopped? You know, Qingshan City is not big, but it is not small either. Half of the population is nearly 100,000 people. How miserable is it that 100,000 people were massacred by evil cultivators? At this time, Yi Lin walked towards the task pavilion. At this time, Yi Lin, who had just stepped into the task pavilion, was blinded by the 5 grade tasks in front of him. Brother Yi, are you going to take a task? At this time, Sun Xiao saw Yi Lin walking in. Well, which tasks have rich rewards? Take them out and let me see. Okay. After speaking, Sun Xiao began to sort them out, and then handed 3 tasks to Yi Lin. Brother Yi, please look, the first one is a 6th grade task, to kill 3 evil cultivators in the middle stage of foundation building hiding in Qingshan City, and the reward is 3 middle grade spirit stones. The second one is also a 6th grade task, to find the lower grade Zon level treasure, the Aurora Sword, stored in the Qian family by Qingyan sect, and the reward is 3 middle grade spirit stones. The third one is a 5th grade task, to kill 20 evil cultivators with a minimum cultivation level of the 9th level of Qi training, and the reward is 200 lower grade spirit stones. Looking at the tasks handed over by Sun Xiao, Yi Lin pondered for a while. The fundamental reason why the evil cultivators and evil demons have not been eradicated until now is that no one wants to suffer. Even Qingyan sect, even though Qingshan City has been slaughtered, has not seen the elders go down the mountain to eliminate the demons, because they don't want to be the first to stand out. Evil cultivators are not soft persimmons. If they cause serious damage to their own vitality because of eliminating demons, then, what awaits them is to be slaughtered. Every demon eliminating operation was a big thunder and a small raindrop. No elders from any sect took action. The death of an elder in the late stage of foundation building would hurt even the Qingyan sect for a long time. To put it bluntly, the lives of mortals are nothing to these so-called practitioners. Then I'll take the first and third tasks. At this time, Yi Lin said to Sun Xiao. As for the second task, it was a waste of time. He could still kill people if you asked him to do it. As for finding things, who knows where the things went? Okay, senior brother, you just need to bring back the marks on them. At this time, Sun Xiao's face was happy. As the person in charge of the task pavilion, no one dared to take these tasks, which almost worried him to death. Now, someone took it. After collecting the tasks, Yi Lin went straight to Qingshan City. However, at this time, Qingshan City was full of corpses, and there were mummies everywhere, and the blood on their bodies seemed to be sucked dry by something. In the Qian family of Qingshan City, countless people in black robes stood in the main hall of the Qian family at this time. How is the situation? At this time, a black-robed person at the top said, with golden threads dotted on his black robe, and he was of high status at a glance. There are still more than 80,000 people in Qingshan City now, and it is expected that they will be killed within 1 day. Okay, after 1 day, we will retreat. Hearing this, the black-robed person at the top laughed. Humph, those so-called righteous people are all pretending. We have almost slaughtered all of Qingshan City, but they have not taken any action. Aren't they all like this? They don't care about the lives of these mortals unless their interests are endangered. Outside the city, Yi Lin just stepped into the city gate and smelled an extremely strong smell of blood. All around, there were dried corpses everywhere, which looked extremely terrifying. This evil cultivator, such a cruel method. Yi Lin frowned and murmured, and then continued to move forward. Who is it? At this time, a black-robed man shouted, and the next moment, a sword flashed, and the black-robed man fell to the ground, holding his neck. Yi Lin retracted his right hand, and the long sword quietly floated behind him. The next moment, Yi Lin's figure suddenly disappeared. What happened? Who did it? At this time, 2 black-robed men hurriedly came here, and saw the black-robed man lying on the ground without any breath, and they were shocked. Someone is here, go and report it. After saying that, the 2 hurriedly left, and Yi Lin, holding the hidden god pearl, followed behind them. After tossing and turning, Yi Lin followed the 2 men to the Qian family. After a few steps, Yi Lin stood steadily on the wall. Looking around, there were dozens of black-robed people standing in the courtyard. Holding the hidden god pearl, he could not be found even if he stood in front of the black-robed people. What a rampant evil cultivator, slaughtering Qingshan City under the nose of Qingyan sect, and still having a leisurely party. But 3 are in the middle stage of foundation building, 5 are in the early stage of foundation building, and the rest are in the Qi training stage. It's a bit difficult to deal with. After seeing the whole scene, Yi Lin said with a little toothache. Report, leader, one of our brothers died just now, and someone came from Qingshan City. Hearing this, the black-robed people in the courtyard changed their faces. HMPH, what are you afraid of? Nowadays, no elders from the major sects and families have come down the mountain. Even if there are people, they are disciples. How can a disciple scare you like this? Pass my order, block the entire Qingshan City, pull out this little rat for me, and at the same time, kill all the other mortals for me. We can't stay here. At this time, the man with gold threads on his black robe said. Yes. After that, countless black-robed people went out and dispersed towards the surroundings of Qingshan City. I was just worrying about how to deal with you. Disperse, then I will defeat you one by one. Seeing this, Yi Lin's mouth corners rose, and then disappeared. You guys, go there to search, you guys, follow me. Deal with the middle stage of foundation building first, and then kill the early stage of foundation building. These high-end combat forces are dead, and the remaining Qi training stage is not to be feared. In the dark, Yi Lin stared at a middle stage of foundation building evil cultivator in front of him and muttered. Now, suddenly, Yi Lin rushed out like a leopard with a long sword in his hand. Who is it? At this time, the black-robed man reacted immediately and was about to resist when his throat was pierced by a sword. You. The black-robed man pointed at Yi Lin with his eyes wide open. With his throat pierced, he couldn't say anything. Chapter 71. 2, and 1 in the middle stage of foundation building. After solving the problem, Yi Lin took out the bone powder and disposed of the body of the person in front of him. Since Zhang Liang obtained the bone powder, he hasn't used it much, so there is still a lot of it. He's just a little disciple. If he dares to come out, I'll teach him how to behave in minutes. Here, the man in black robe standing under the tree to enjoy the shade said with disdain. Most of these men in black robes are people who are nearing their longevity. If their lifespan is not about to end and they are afraid of death, they will not be reduced to being the lackeys of the evil spirit. Oh, I heard that you want to teach me how to be a good person. I'm looking forward to it. At this time, a voice came from behind the big tree, and Wang Tishu was suddenly startled. Who? Just as he was about to turn around, he found a long sword at his throat, and then slowly fell to the ground. The third one, the middle stage of foundation building has been solved. Looking at Wang Tishu's body, Yi Lin touched the long sword in his hand. These evil cultivators are not very talented, and as they age, their physical skills have declined significantly. If it were a head-on battle, any disciple from the 4 major sects and 4 aristocratic families who were in the early stage of foundation building would be able to compete with this evil cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building. At the same time, he killed 3 evil cultivators in the middle stage of foundation building. He found that the realms of these evil cultivators were extremely illusory, and they looked like they might fall off the realm at any time. As the so-called secret method of extending lifespan just to drain the human body of its potential and cultivation. Yi Lin sneered at such a secret method. Instead of living like this, it would be better to die violently. Next, it's time to take action on those monks who are in the early stages of foundation building. After saying that, Yi Lin's figure disappeared into the air. The reason why the progress was so easy was all due to the hidden god bead. Yi Lin also found that the hidden god bead was too powerful. Who is it? 3 monks in the middle stage of foundation building disappeared mysteriously. Whose handiwork is this? Did the elder of the Qingyan sect come down the mountain? No, the elder of the Qingyan sect is only in the late stage of foundation building. Although he is extremely powerful, it is unrealistic to kill 4 monks in the middle stage of foundation building quietly. Is it an overhaul of the golden core stage? Impossible. If it is really a major repair of the golden core stage, why bother covering it up? In the main hall of the Qian family, the leader of the black-robed man had a solemn face and murmured in his mouth. In just half an hour, all 3 of his most capable generals lost contact, which gave him an extremely strong sense of crisis. Is it a treasure that hides the aura? This possibility is extremely high. Hurry, gather other people and come here to discuss things. At this time, Wang Dali said to the black-robed disciple on the side. After hearing this, the black-robed disciple nodded and walked out of the hall. I hope you can find the treasure that hides the breath in time. If we are all together, when the time comes, see you defeating them one by one. Wang Dali sat on the chair and sneered, saying that he could not retreat before collecting enough blood. Otherwise, he would have summoned the rest of his disciples and run away. The fourth. Yi Lin frowned as he looked at the corpse of an evil cultivator in the early stages of foundation building under his feet. Now, all the evil cultivators in Qingshan City seemed to have received some order and ran towards the Qian family compound. Have you discovered it? But it's already too late. All the monks in the middle stage of foundation establishment are dead, leaving only a group of Qi training stage monks and one monk in the early stage of foundation establishment. What can they do? Yi Lin had a sneer on his face, then put his index finger on his mouth and looked at the little boy who was witnessing the whole process. Shish, it's not safe outside now. Go back and find Mom. After touching the little boy's head, Yi Lin walked towards Qian's house with his sword in hand. At this time, he was not afraid at all. In his eyes, the evil cultivators in the Qi training stage were no different from ants. As for the evil cultivator in the early stage of foundation building, he could kill him with a flip of his hand. The one who really poses the slightest threat to him is the leader in the middle stage of foundation building. What? All 3 monks in the middle stage of foundation establishment and 4 monks in the early stage of foundation establishment have lost contact. At this time, Wang Dali looked at the evil cultivator below and his expression changed drastically. He never expected that all the high-end combat power would have been killed by the mysterious man. That person can kill all the evil cultivators in the foundation establishment stage silently, so he has the ability to kill him. He is only a mid-stage foundation establishment stager. Quick, pack your things and leave now. At this time, Wang Dali had completely lost his composure. The person who came was at least in the late stage of foundation building. He no longer dared to stay any longer. If that person came to the door now, they would all die here. He can kill monks in the Qi training stage at will with his eyes closed, let alone that mysterious man. He also thought about gathering the other 5 monks who were in the early stage of foundation building. Even if they were in the late stage of foundation building, they could still fight. Now it seems that fighting is a waste. Hearing this, the evil cultivators below were in chaos. They took refuge in the evil spirits just for the sake of longevity. They were extremely sensitive to life and death. Just as the evil cultivators were in chaos, the door behind them opened, and a man wearing white clothes and holding a long sword walked toward the courtyard. There was a faint smile on the man's face, and that smile was as terrifying as a life-killing charm. I want to run away now, is it too late? The skill of wielding a sword is like a rainbow piercing the sun. Yi Lin shouted low, made a sword finger with his right hand, and waved forward. Suddenly, the long sword behind him turned into a sharp sword light. Before the 24 Qi training monks had time to react, the sword penetrated their chests and their bodies fell straight up. For monks in the foundation building stage, the Qi training stage is really no different from ants. Who are you? Seeing that all his men were killed instantly, Wang Dali looked horrified. Yi Lin, a direct disciple of the Qingyan sect, is here to kill you beasts who are neither human nor ghosts. At this time, Yi Lin put away his smile and snorted coldly. He was extremely disgusted with these evil cultivators. Don't be impulsive. I have a low-grade Zon-level treasure here. I'll give it to you. How about you save my life? At this time, Wang Dali took out a long sword from his arms. The long sword was the Aurora sword, the long sword of the Qingyan sect stored in the Qian family. 3 swords of life and death, 1 sword of yin and yang. At this time, Yi Lin shouted softly, and before Wang Dali had time to react, he saw a black long sword on his chest. Why? After saying that, Wang Dali fell to the ground, completely breathless. Stupid, if I kill you, it will all be mine. Looking at Wang Dali's body, Yi Lin cursed secretly. Then he cut off all the marks on the field, put away the Aurora sword, and walked towards Qingyan sect. His mission has been completed, and thanks to Wang Dali, the evil cultivators of Qingyan sect have been destroyed by his group. He originally thought it would be troublesome to kill the 9th level Qi practitioners one by one, but he didn't expect Wang Dali to gather them all together for him. He had to say that he was a 5-star good person. Standing at the entrance of Qingyan sect, Yi Lin looked at the mountains in the distance with a faint smile on his face. From the halfway point, he noticed that there was an aura from the middle stage of foundation building following him. Is this the killer hired by Lin Zisheng? Yi Lin murmured and walked into Qingyan sect. If he hadn't been too far away and the body technique was extremely sophisticated, he would have killed this person long ago. I'll submit the task. Looking at Sun Xiao who was busy in the distance, Yi Lin knocked on the table, and Sun Xiao turned his head. Brother Yi, you're here to submit the task. But it's been less than 5 hours since you accepted the task. Sun Xiao was shocked. What task did Yi Lin accept? That was a 6th grade and a 5th grade task. Even the first task alone was not something that a direct disciple could complete alone. Well, you can settle it. At this time, Yi Lin took out dozens of marks and placed them in front of Sun Xiao. These marks all store demonic energy. Just by looking at the concentration of demonic energy, you can see the cultivation level of the owner of the mark, so it is generally easy to judge. Brother Yi, wait a moment. Seeing this, Sun Xiao looked serious and began to check. After a while, Sun Xiao was shocked. Brother Yi, the inspection is completed, the quantity is correct, I will give you the reward now. After speaking, Sun Xiao put away the mark and started to look for spirit stones. By the way, I found this thing while completing the task. Please settle it for me as well. At this time, Yi Lin put the Aurora sword on the table. Okay. At this time, Sun Xiao was already numb with shock. The most difficult task was completed by Yi Lin alone. He was simply not a human being. The reason why he took it out was because the Aurora sword was useless to him. A low-grade Zon level long sword was an indispensable treasure even for a large sect like Qingyan sect. If he kept it privately, he would never take it out in a crowded place in the future. In this way, the long sword would become a piece of scrap metal. In addition, he already had a long sword, and the Aurora sword was of little use to him. It would be better to exchange it for 5 medium-grade spirit stones. Brother Yi, this is all the rewards, you count. At this time, Sun Xiao walked in front of Yi Lin with a cloth bag. His hands holding the cloth bag were shaking. When had he ever seen so many spirit stones? Thank you. Putting away the cloth bag, Yi Lin thanked him and walked out the door. Oh my god, what kind of god is this senior brother Yi? He is so fierce. Looking at Yi Lin's back, Sun Xiao was shocked. From the past to now, Yi Lin seemed to shock him no less each time. Try to practice Tiger Roar Forest to the 3rd level so that we can deal with the next Dragon Profound Cave. The base flower mentioned by Master must also be obtained. But after 5 days, I still have to go out for a walk and get rid of that killer. Otherwise, it will be annoying to be stared at by this thing all the time. Sitting on the bed, Yi Lin touched his chin and thought. As far as he knew, this killer was like a wolf. If he couldn't get it, he would never give up. Being stared at all day was not pleasant. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, 5 days passed. The 3rd level of Tiger Roar Forest is still a little short, but now I will go and get rid of that killer and try to break through Tiger Roar Forest to the 3rd level before the Dragon Profound Cave opens. After a while of hesitation, Yi Lin got up and walked towards the 10,000 miles mountain. As soon as he walked out of the sect, Yi Lin felt a breath following him. This made him admire the killer's professional ethics. He was really dedicated. He had been squatting outside the sect for 5 days. Yi Lin came to a canyon, and the killer behind him followed closely, without any intention of attacking. Did he notice me? Or did I not reveal any flaws? Yi Lin touched his chin and thought, and then deliberately released the breath of the initial stage of foundation building. Upon closer inspection, the breath was floating and unstable, and it seemed that he was about to fall from the realm. Just as Yi Lin was strolling in the garden, suddenly, a terrifying murderous intent came from behind him. Took the bait. Yi Lin raised the corner of his mouth, turned around and punched. There was a loud bang, and blood was scattered all over. A one-armed masked man was seen lying on the ground, wailing in pain. With one punch, one of the killer's arms was directly blown up by Yi Lin's punch. How is it possible? I'm in the middle stage of foundation building. The killer was extremely desperate at this moment. You are making fun of me, right? You punched me, a cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building, and you call him a little guy who just broke through the foundation building stage. The next moment, everything went black, and then nothing happened. Yilin slowly squatted down, fumbled on the man's body, and then took out 3 low-grade spirit stones. Poor fool, you are so poor and still want to be a killer. Shame on you. Looking at the 3 low-grade spirit stones in his hand, Yilin cursed inwardly. Then, Yilin returned to Qingyan sect to continue practicing. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. In a hall in Huiyu Peak, one of the 9 peaks of Qingyan sect's inner sect, belonging to the third elder, Lin Zisheng's face was ashen. What did Yilin do? A cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building was killed. Lin Zisheng's face was full of anger. Just now, the killer who killed the sect contacted him, and the killer he sent out disappeared mysteriously, which made him extremely angry. Disciple. At this time, the third elder walked into the hall and looked at Lin Zisheng, who had a livid face. Master. Looking at the third elder in front of him, Lin Zisheng stood up and saluted. Did you go to the killing sect to hire a killer to assassinate Yilin? As soon as the third elder said this, Lin Zisheng's back was covered with cold sweat. How did the third elder know? You know, killing each other among the same sect is the most intolerable thing in Qingyan sect, and the target of the killing is the disciple who was taught by the sect. Master, I was wrong. At this time, Lin Zisheng said sincerely. Fool, idiot, you are really confused. Do you know that we cultivators cultivate the heart of Tao? As the saying goes, cultivation is to cultivate the heart. If you do this, it means that you are afraid of Yilin. From now on, he will become your inner demon forever. Do you know? The third elder said with regret. He didn't know why his disciple, who was originally very smart, became so confused at this time. Master, but I hate him. Even when I practice, I can think of his shadow. Lin Zisheng gritted his teeth and said that since he was defeated by Yilin in public, he couldn't calm down even when practicing. This is the inner demon. Do you understand? If you want to get rid of the inner demon, you must kill him yourself. At this time, the third elder slowly said. But master, Yilin is now in his prime. I'm afraid. Halfway through, Lin Zisheng stopped talking. HMPH, the Dragon Profound Cave will be open in a few days. By then, people from other forces will also come. After you all enter the Dragon Profound Cave, the outside world will not know what happens inside. As far as I know, Yilin has no good friends in Qingyan sect, and he doesn't know the disciples of other forces. By then, you can do whatever you want in the secret realm. Don't you understand? After listening to the third elder's words, Lin Zisheng's eyes lit up. The third elder's words completely woke him up. Yes, no matter what happens in the Dragon Profound Cave, the outside world will not know, and Yilin doesn't know anyone else, only Li Miaoling, but Li Miaoling is not to be feared. In this way, at this time, a perfect plan emerged in Lin Zisheng's mind. Master, I understand. It's good if you understand. Seeing Lin Zisheng like this, the third elder stroked his beard with satisfaction. The boy can be taught. Just like that, a few peaceful days passed by in the blink of an eye. The third level of Tiger Roaring Forest is finally completed. Yilin's face was full of excitement when he saw the boulder as tall as a person in front of him being shattered by his punch. After practicing day and night, he finally completed the third level. Now, even if I encounter the late stage of foundation building, with the blessing of Phoenix Fire and the power of the Taoist platform, I can still kill him with one punch. By the way, tomorrow seems to be the day when the so-called Longshuan cave is opened. At this time, Yilin seemed to have thought of something and hurriedly walked behind him. Sure enough, Chu Shui's figure was already standing at the door of her residence. Master. At this time, Yilin stepped forward and bowed respectfully. Well, tomorrow is the day when Longshuan cave opens. We are going to set off now. Are you ready? At this time, Chu Shui turned to look at Yilin and said. Ready. Okay, in that case, let's gather at the sect's main hall. After saying that, Chu Shui flew towards the inner gate hall, followed closely by Yilin. The inner hall was already full of people, and the 9 elders of the Qingyan sect's inner sect had also arrived. At the top, the sect leader looked serious. At this time, Yi Lin followed Chu Shui and walked slowly. Okay, now that the 10 elders and 6 direct descendants of our Qingyan sect have gathered, and everyone knows what day tomorrow is, I won't talk nonsense. On the surface, our Qingyan sect seems to be the one in control of this area of thousands of miles, but in fact, other forces have begun to gradually lose control, especially this time in the battle for Longshuan Cave. This represents the first collision between our major forces, and the protagonists this time are the 6 of you. I hope that you can help each other when you enter the Longshuan Cave. If we lose this secret contest, the prestige of our Qingyan sect will not be as good as before. Do you understand? After the sect leader above gave a speech, the 6 disciples below, including Yi Lin, bowed to the sect leader one after another. Please rest assured, Sect Master, I will definitely show off the majesty of my Qingyan sect this time. Very good. Seeing the 6 disciples acting like this, the sect master nodded with satisfaction. Chu Shui on the side was silent, not knowing what to think about. When you enter Longshuan Cave, kill when you need to. You don't have to hold back. At this time, murderous intent flashed across the sect leader's eyes. In that case, let's set off. This advance will be led by Elder Chu. When the time comes, everything will be subject to Elder Chu's arrangements. At this time, the sect leader waved his hand and then walked out of the sect hall with his hands behind his back. Then let's set off. Seeing the sect leader disappear, Chu Shui said softly, and then left with 6 personal swordsmen. Junior brother Yi, we meet again. At this time, Shi Jian nodded towards Yi Lin. Senior brother Shi. Yi Lin also nodded and said as a return gift. This time, we should fight side by side to resist other sect disciples. While listening to Shi Jian's words, Yi Lin turned to look at Lin Zisheng, who was silent on the side. Suddenly, a transparent panel appeared in front of him. Name: Lin Zisheng. Cultivation level: middle stage of foundation building. Fate: purple, disabled. Numerology: good luck, leader of the swordsmanship, intelligence to the gods, son of heavenly favorite, reincarnation of the great power. Destiny: stopping at the peak of Hedao. When he was about to break through the tribulation period, he was struck to death by thunder and his soul dissipated. Recent opportunity 1. After entering Longshuan Cave, in the most conspicuous alchemy furnace in the alchemy room, 3 Zon-level low-grade elixirs, Wei Yuan Dan, were found. Recent opportunity 2. After entering Longshuan Cave, in the small drawer under the most conspicuous chopping board in the alchemy room, a Zon-level middle-grade elixir, Sheng Yuan Dan, was found. Recent opportunity 3. After entering Longshuan Cave, a piece of Zon-level middle-grade black gold was found under the bed in the side hall of the weapon refining room. Looking at Lin Zisheng's panel, Yi Lin's eyes flickered. Could this Longshuan Cave be a ruins? The alchemy room and the weapon refining room have both come out, so the chances are high. Yi Lin rubbed his chin and thought. According to Sun Shao, this Longshuan Cave used to be a giant force with a powerful nascent soul stage. However, the family was exterminated inexplicably afterwards, leaving only the Dragon Profound Cave. Based on this calculation, this long profound cave should be the ruins of the nascent soul giant power. After 3 hours of traveling, everyone finally arrived at their destination. In front of them was a huge cavity 100 meters wide. In the center of the cavity, there was a huge opening, and there was a thin blue energy shield above the opening. The area around the hollow was already overcrowded. This time, not only disciples from major forces came, but also casual cultivators. Even casual cultivators are extremely jealous of the extremely precious thing called Longshuan Cave. Everyone followed Chu Shui to an open space. Okay, just wait here quietly. Tomorrow is the day when the Longshuan Cave will be opened. At this time, Chu Shui said softly. Before he could stand firm, in the distance, an old man with a white beard walked over with a float in his hand and a smile on his face. Elder Chu Shui, I haven't seen you for many years, and you are getting more and more beautiful. The old man with a white beard looked at Chu Shui and said with a smile. Brother, who is this person? At this time, Yi Lin asked Shi Jian on the side. Shi Jian said with a serious expression. This guy is Zhang Wushuang, the great elder of the Holy King sect, who has half-stepped into the golden core stage. If you dare to look at me with those squinting eyes of yours again, believe it or not, I will dig it for you. At this time, Chu Shui snorted coldly. My temper is still the same, but how about you come and see my disciple? At this time, Zhang Wushwang waved, and behind him was a man with a resolute face who exuded the aura of the middle stage of Foundation establishment. Elder Chu. Lu Neng nodded lightly towards Chu Shui and said with an extremely indifferent expression. It is said that Elder Chu has also accepted a new disciple. I don't know where he is. Come out and let me have a look. At this time, Zhang Wushwang said with a smile. Elder Zhang. At this time, Yi Lin took a step forward and nodded towards Zhang Wushwang. Not bad, not bad. In the early stage of foundation building, he can be considered a first-rate talent, but he's still not that good. Seeing Yi Lin exuding the aura of the early stage of foundation building, Zhang Wushwang smiled and shook his head. The man standing next to Zhang Wushwang also had a look of disdain on his face. He was only in the early stages of foundation building and he could kill him casually. Nunger, this is Elder Chu's disciple. You should take more care of him when he enters Longshuan Cave tomorrow. At this time, Zhang Wushwang smiled and said to Lu Neng, who was aside, especially the 4 words, "Take care more," were repeated again. Don't worry, I will definitely take care of Elder Chu's disciples. At this time, Lu Neng showed a cruel smile on his face. Junior brother Lu, I would like to thank you for your care. At this time, Yi Lin said with a smile. Lu Neng's expression changed. When Yi Lin said, Junior brother Lu, his seniority immediately became weaker. Zhang Wushwang, take your useless disciples and get out. At this time, Chu Shui looked impatient and snorted coldly. Hearing this, Zhang Wushwang's face changed, but he didn't make any move. He just shook his sleeves and walked away. Junior brother Yi, I hope you can still be so arrogant when we arrive at Longshuan Cave tomorrow. Lu Neng smiled slightly at Yi Lin. Go in tomorrow and don't hold back. Yes, Yi Lin bowed to Chu Shui. Seeing this, Chu Shui smiled. Others didn't know his disciple, but he didn't know it either. That Lu Neng is just a waste. Senior brother Shi, what is the relationship between the Holy King's mansion and my master? At this time, Yi Lin looked at Shi Jian and asked. From the moment the two met, Yi Lin felt that something was deeply wrong. These two have a lot of stories, it's like this. After Shi Jian's slow description, Yi Lin finally understood the story between his master and the great elder of the Holy King sect. It turns out that 100 years ago, the two major sects, Qingyan sect and Holy King sect, were on equal terms. At that time, the great elder of the Holy King sect and Chu Shui of the Qingyan sect were the geniuses of their respective sects. During a competition between disciples of two major sects, the elder of the Holy King sect saw that Chu Shui was extremely beautiful, so he made rude remarks, and Chu Shui eventually took action to educate him. From then on, whenever the two met, it was usually Chu Shui who took the initiative to hang the elder of the Holy King sect with a hammer. In this way, the two have been grudges for a long time. After realizing how powerful Chu Shui was, from then on, when the two met, the great elder of the Holy King sect would often only play lip service and would not dare to take action at all. If he did, he would be punished. This made Yi Lin couldn't help but lament that the seemingly cold master actually had such an interesting past. At this time, they were all standing there to rest, and from time to time, a sword light fell from the sky. These were people from various major forces. Just like that, the day flew by in the blink of an eye. Coming. At this time, Yi Lin opened his eyes and looked at the huge hole in the center. Boom! There was a loud noise, and a thin blue film on the surface of the hole was slowly disappearing. Look, Longshuan Cave is open. I saw it, wait patiently and see what the big force says. Seeing this, the casual cultivators around were ready to move, but they still kept their bodies steady. These powerful forces had not moved at this time. If they dared to charge, they would be the first to die. Everyone, Longshuan Cave is wide open, let's start. I wonder what Elder Chu wants. At this time, an old man with an immortal spirit in the distance looked at Chu Shui and asked. After all, Chu Shui has the highest status in the entire venue now because he is the elder of Qingyan sect. Can. Chu Shui nodded, and immediately, the casual cultivators around him began to rush towards Longshuan Cave. They all had no sect and were groping alone. As for the resources, they were all obtained through hard work. Now that they finally waited until Longshuan Cave was opened, they all came here to gamble their lives. The reason why the major forces let these casual cultivators in is purely to clear the way for their disciples. There are many crises in Longshuan Cave, so it is just right to use these casual cultivators to clear the way. As for the casual cultivator to obtain the treasure, being able to take the treasure out alive is considered a skill. After seeing all the casual cultivators entering, the direct disciples of the major forces began to move. Be careful, Elder Chu, please rest assured. After bowing to Chu Shui, Yi Lin followed the other 5 disciples into the Longshuan Cave. All he saw was darkness, followed by ruins. They were standing on a ruins, with destroyed buildings everywhere in front of them. Is this the inside of Longshuan Cave? Isn't it too miserable? At this time, Shi Jian also opened his mouth. To be honest, it was his first time here. Although they are passed down in person, they are not always able to come. Is it really the ruins of the Yuanying stage forces? What kind of power can destroy the Yuanying stage forces like this overnight? Seeing such a scene, Yi Lin couldn't help but smack his lips. It was really shocking. I saw the remains of various buildings everywhere in front of me, and there was a vague sense of dilapidation, which was extremely shocking. This is a jade talisman for communication. One for each person. Once in danger, he can activate it immediately. At that time, other people who have this jade talisman will know the location. At this time, Li Miaoling took out 5 jade charms and distributed them to the 5 people, and then said. Yi Lin put away the jade talisman and nodded. This method is found in almost all major forces. I'll see you all later, farewell. At this time, Lin Zisheng and the fat man finished talking and ran towards the distance, while Shi Jian also walked away. And the last person, a man with a long sword on his back, nodded indifferently towards Yi Lin and Li Miaoling, then turned and left. Junior brother, be careful. After Li Miaoling finished speaking, she went to explore alone. At this time, looking at Li Miaoling's back, Yi Lin thought in his heart, and then walked away. After all, it is unrealistic for direct disciples of a sect to gather together all the time. Everyone has their own secrets. Besides, it is difficult to separate the treasures found together. Where is the alchemy room? As Yi Lin walked, he was thinking in his heart. He had never seen the alchemy room, so he could only rely on luck to find it. Looking at this place, it should be a huge square, and as for the alchemy room, the most likely place is at the rear. At this time, Yi Lin speeded up and walked towards the distance. Important buildings such as the alchemy room and the refining room were of course built in hidden places. Found it. At this time, Yi Lin looked at a dilapidated building in front of him. There was a dilapidated plaque hanging on the door, and the word, alchemy room, could be vaguely seen. Just when Yi Lin raised his feet to step into it, a man walked out of the alchemy room and looked at Yi Lin with a sneer on his face. Sorry, the Wang family wants this alchemy room, so get out of here. Outside, the Qingyan sect is the overlord, and when the disciples of the 4 major families see the direct descendants of the Qingyan sect, they are even less generous. But here, Qingyan sect disciples are nothing. Moreover, the disciples of these aristocratic families are very disgusted with Qingyan sect. Go away. At this time, Yi Lin said in a serious tone that he did not need to give face to these so-called forces at all. According to Chu Shui, on the surface, they were exploring Longshuan Cave, but in reality, they were taking the opportunity to suppress the disciples of these major forces to death. Let the younger generation know who is the boss in this area. I'll say it again, this alchemy room is for my Wang family. If you don't get out of here, be careful that I'll kill you. Qingyan sect's direct descendant. I've long wanted to see the strength of this Qingyan sect's direct descendant. Wang Tian pulled out a big knife and put it in front of Yi Lin's neck, with a look of disdain on his face. In his eyes, Qingyan sect was already a toothless tiger. After suppressing their 4 major families for decades, he already hated Qingyan sect in his heart. Although the place is good, you must have the ability to take it. After Yi Lin finished speaking, he grabbed the big knife in front of his neck, clenched his left fist, and punched Wang Tian in the chest. You are so brave. Wang Tian's body retreated rapidly, his right hand covering his chest with a face full of anger. How dare you do this? You are just in the early stage of foundation building. Wang Tian held a big knife in his hand, and the aura of the middle stage of foundation building spread all over his body. The middle stage of foundation building is not a cabbage, and the strength of the disciples of the major forces is superficial. After all, no one will put their true strength on the surface. Ba Dao Zan. Wang Tian roared, and the big knife flashed with flowing light, and an extremely heavy breath came. And Wang Tian did not hold back at all, and raised his hand to kill. Seeing this, Yi Lin was no longer merciful. 7 killing fists, kill. Boom. There was a loud bang, and a wave of air overturned the boulders around. Wang Tian's hand holding the big knife was shaking violently. And the yellow-grade lower-grade big knife in his hand suddenly had a gap. Yi Lin not only took his knife with his fist, but also broke his big knife with one punch. More importantly, Yi Lin was only in the early stage of foundation building, while he was in the middle stage of foundation building. He hit with all his strength, but he couldn't even take Yi Lin's knife. What kind of monster are you? Wang Tian looked at Yi Lin, his face full of shock, and at the same time, he had already begun to retreat in his heart. Just one move, he had already had a psychological shadow on Yi Lin. Die. Ever since Wang Tian's knife just now did not hold back, in Yi Lin's eyes, Wang Tian was already a dead man. No, you can't kill me, my senior brothers are all around, if you kill me, you won't have an easy time. Seeing Yi Lin's murderous intention, Wang Tian's face was full of fear. Tiger roars in the forest. Accompanied by a huge tiger roar, a huge bloody hole appeared on Wang Tian's chest, and the whole person slowly fell to the ground, with no breath. Stupid. Looking at Wang Tian's body, Yi Lin walked forward and fumbled for a while, and took out 15 low-grade spirit stones from the body. Although the fly is small, it is also meat. After doing everything, Yi Lin walked towards the inside. As for Wang Tian's body, there is no need to deal with it at all, dead is dead. When he came to the alchemy room, he saw a huge space in front of him, surrounded by various wooden tables and wooden stools, and in the center of the front, there was a huge alchemy furnace. The surface of the alchemy furnace was rusty, and it was obvious that it had been placed for a very long time. The elixir must be in it. Yi Lin walked forward and looked at the alchemy furnace in front of him. Because the alchemy furnace had been placed for too long, it was no longer clear what it used to look like. It seems that this alchemy furnace is just a yellow-grade lower-grade treasure. At this time, Yi Lin was disappointed and opened the alchemy furnace. An alchemy furnace that can refine elixirs must at least be a treasure, but the alchemy furnace in front of him was only a yellow-grade lower-grade treasure. After being placed for 100 years, even a yellow-grade lower-grade treasure would rust. And even if he took this alchemy furnace, it would just waste the space in the space ring and be useless. After the furnace was opened, 3 round pills were placed at the bottom. Yi Lin took them out and put them to his nose. He could still smell the faint fragrance of the pills. It has been placed for 100 years. This thing won't go bad, right? A strange thought came to Yi Lin's mind. But this pill can actually become an opportunity in Lin Zisheng's panel. It must be good. After saying that, he put the 3 Weiyuan pills into the space ring. There is another opportunity in this alchemy room. The most conspicuous chopping board must be the thing with the furnace. At this time, Yi Lin lowered his eyes and saw a square small table carrying the furnace, and on it, there was a small drawer. Yi Lin opened the small drawer and found a wooden box inside. When the wooden box was opened, a strong fragrance of pills floated out. It seemed to be well preserved. Yes, it's time to go to the refining room. After putting the wooden box away, Yi Lin walked out of the alchemy room. Not long after Yi Lin left, 2 disciples holding big knives looked at Wang Tian's body angrily. Who did it? If I know, I will make him die without a burial place. One of the disciples gritted his teeth and said, Wang Tian is the most promising genius in their Wang family to break through the Jindan stage, now, he died inexplicably. Wang Tian did not activate the Jade Talisman until his death, which means that this person's combat power completely crushed Wang Tian. The only one who can completely crush Wang Tian is a cultivator in the late stage of foundation building. Another disciple squatted beside Wang Tian's body, his face solemn. Being able to prevent Wang Tian from activating the Jade Talisman means that the combat power of the person who made the move can instantly kill Wang Tian. Impossible. The 4 major sects and the 3 major families have no disciples in the late stage of foundation building. It is worthy of being a force led by a great cultivator in the Yuanying stage. It is really spectacular. Yi Lin was amazed by what he saw along the way. Although various buildings were destroyed, Yi Lin could still vaguely see their former glory from the ruins. The figures of disciples from various schools kept flashing around, all in a hurry to find opportunities. The weapon refining room, found it. At this time, Yi Lin looked at the huge building in front of him that was completely made of special metal, and his face was happy. Unlike other buildings, the building in front of him was not damaged at all. Outside the weapon refining room, several figures rushed in. Obviously, everyone was not a fool. So many buildings were destroyed, only the building in front of him was intact. It seemed that there were things inside. Then Yi Lin no longer hesitated and stepped into it. As soon as he stepped into the weapon refining room, he heard the sound of various weapons colliding. In a huge hall, countless casual cultivators started fighting, and the scene was in chaos. For casual cultivators, just a yellow-level lower-grade treasure can attract them to fight for their lives. The resources they cultivated were all snatched step by step in this way. At this time, a figure flew towards Yi Lin, and Yi Lin grabbed it. "Thank you, senior brother." The casual cultivator caught by Yi Lin thanked Yi Lin and then joined the battle again. They couldn't afford to offend the disciples of the big forces, so they could only offend people of the same sect. Yi Lin shook his head and walked straight to the side hall. Something's wrong. At this time, Yi Lin's face was solemn, and he took a few steps back. Suddenly, several poisonous arrows shot at him at an incredibly fast speed. Yi Lin waved his hand, and the flying sword flew out immediately, intercepting these poisonous arrows. At this time, there was a movement in the side hall, and Yi Lin stepped into the side hall. Two people in black clothes and masks were holding a piece of golden metal and were about to jump out of the window to escape. The golden metal was shining with golden light, and it was obvious that it was not an ordinary thing. "Humph, a member of the killing sect. Since you attacked me, don't leave." Yi Lin sneered, waved his hand, and the flying sword flew into his hand. 3 swords of life and death, 1 sword of life. Yi Lin raised his hand and a terrifying sword energy appeared. "I will stop him, you go quickly." At this time, one of the masked men rushed towards Yi Lin, and 2 daggers appeared in his hand. "You come to stop him. What can you use to stop him?" I heard a figure of a long sword entering the body. The masked man raised his head and looked at Yi Lin, and then fell to the ground. On the other side, another masked man had already jumped out of the window and carried away. "The devil's shadow is gone." Yi Lin silently said a sentence, his body disappeared, and he caught up with the fleeing masked man in 3 or 2 steps. 3 swords of life and death, 1 sword of life, cut. The sword flashed, the masked man looked at his broken arm, immediately threw away the golden medal in his hand, and ran away. The people of the killing sect are really different. The killing sect is a killer sect. The sect cultivates killers. They have undergone various inhumane training since childhood and are proficient in various assassination techniques. As for the sense of pain, they have long abandoned it. Even if their arms are cut off, they will not frown. Sword control technique, long rainbow piercing the sun. Seeing that there was no one around, Yi Lin immediately used the sword control technique. The flying sword instantly burst out several times the speed and directly shot the fleeing masked man in the head. These 2 people are only in the early stage of foundation building. For him now, the early stage of foundation building can be killed at will. It must be said that the sword control technique of the Heavenly Sword Sect is really useful. After dealing with the 2 people, Yi Lin looked at the mysterious metal on the ground. "What on earth is this? It looks extremely extraordinary. Let's go out and let Master have a look." After saying that, Yi Lin put the metal into his space ring and returned to the side hall. He hadn't taken the black gold yet. Arriving at the side hall, Yi Lin walked straight towards the bed, flipped the surface over, and immediately found a dark, palm-sized piece of special metal. "This must be black gold. If it is blended into my longsword, it is very likely that the quality of the longsword will be upgraded to a mid-grade Zon level." Yi Lin touched his chin and walked out of the side hall. At this time, Yi Lin took out the jade talisman from his arms and saw an extremely rich light shining on the jade talisman. Then the jade talisman floated in the air and flew towards the distance. "Is anyone in danger? Interesting." After saying that, Yi Lin followed closely behind Jade Talisman. To be on the safe side, he did not put the Jade Talisman in the space ring. I advise you to retreat now. I have already called for help. By then, you won't be able to leave even if you want to. In a large hall, Shi Jian held a long sword tightly in his right hand and looked at the four figures in front of him with a serious face. Hand over what you have behind you, and we will retreat immediately. What nonsense are you talking to him about? Come on, are you going to wait for their reinforcements to come over? At this time, the disciple on the side said, and then the four of them rushed towards Shi Jian. Seeing this, Shi Jian gritted his teeth to resist. As expected of a high disciple of the Qingyan sect, you can actually resist the four of us for 3 minutes. You are very proud of yourself. At this time, a young man put his sword on the neck of Shi Jian, who was lying on the ground, and said with a smile on his face, Zhao Wuji, do your Zhao family want to start a war with my Qingyan sect? At this time, Shi Jian gritted his teeth and said, start a war. If I kill you here, who will know? What's more, the competition between the juniors is not enough to start a war. Besides, killing you is not my intention. What? At this time, Shi Jian's expression changed. The next moment, the man named Zhao Wuji had a fierce expression and stabbed Shi Jian's throat with his sword. Tiger roaring mountain forest. At this time, a huge tiger roar came, and Zhao Wuji's body suddenly fell backward. The other three people were shocked and turned to look at the entrance of the hall. Junior brother Yi. Shi Jian looked at Yi Lin, his face full of surprise. He originally thought he was going to die, but he didn't expect that there was another village with a bright future. Senior brother Shi Jian, are you okay? Yi Lin nodded towards Shi Jian. Fine. At this time, Shi Jian stood up and came to Yi Lin with the wooden box in his arms. It came so fast. Zhao Wuji, who was knocked away by Yi Lin's punch, was holding a long sword and said with an ugly expression, Walk. Zhao Wuji took a deep look at Yi Lin, then ran to the side, and the four of them disappeared in the blink of an eye. He is not a fool. Shi Jian has already delayed it for 3 minutes, not to mention that now there is Yi Lin, who is even more tyrannical than Shi Jian. If you don't leave, how about waiting for the other relatives of Qingyan sect to make dumplings? Senior brother Shi Jian, what's going on? Looking at the four people leaving, Yi Lin didn't even think about chasing after them. There was no need at all. Junior brother Yi, I found this thing in this hall, but they discovered it unexpectedly, which caused disaster. At this time, Shi Jian took out the box and slowly opened it, only to see a medicinal plant that resembled a human being lying in it. The moment he saw this medicinal material, Yi Lin was shocked that it was actually this thing. Ginseng. Yes, it's ginseng, but this ginseng is about thousands of years old. Hearing this, Shi Jian nodded and said, 1,000-year-old ginseng is very beneficial even in the golden elixir stage, let alone the foundation building stage. No wonder the four of them besieged Shi Jian just now. To be honest, even Yi Lin was a little moved. Senior brother Shi Jian, keep this thing away so that it cannot be discovered by others. I see. Now that senior brother is out of the crisis, I will take my leave. At this time, Yi Lin said slowly. He still has something important to do, which is to find the base flower that the master needs, but he still doesn't have a clue. By the way, senior brother, please help me pay more attention to the base flowers. If any white flowers appear, please let me know as soon as possible. No problem. Shi Jian nodded simply. Seeing this, Yi Lin walked towards the distance. Shi Jian took out the ginseng and put it on his chest, throwing away the wooden box in his hand. It was too ostentatious to hold such a big wooden box. It's obviously telling others that there is a treasure here, come and grab it. While walking, Yi Lin suddenly stopped. Come out. At this time, Yi Lin suddenly spoke and then, a young man walked out behind him. The alertness is good. Lu Neng looked at Yi Lin with admiration on his face. My master asked me to take good care of you, so I came here to take good care of you. Lu Neng held a long knife in his hand and looked at Yi Lin with a sneer on his face. But don't be afraid, I won't take your life. I want to see how much my master's enemy's disciple is worth. After saying that, Lu Neng rushed towards Yi Lin with a long knife, raised his knife and slashed at Yi Lin's arm. If his knife was carried out, Yi Lin's arm would definitely be cut off. Your master can't do it, and you can't do it even more. 7 Killing fists, kill. Yi Lin's arm was wrapped with fiery red flames, and he punched Lu Nang's sword. Cut. Boom. Hearing a loud noise, Lu Nang's body quickly fell backwards, and his feet slid on the ground for a long distance before he could stop. What exactly is that? At this time, Lu Nang looked at the fiery red flames on Yi Lin's arm, his face full of solemnity. From the flames, he felt a fatal threat. Is it a spiritual fire? Good boy, you are lucky to have a spiritual fire blessing. Lu Nang's eyes were greedy, he had his eyes on Yi Lin's spiritual fire. Once Yi Lin was killed, although he could not get the complete spiritual fire, as long as he got half of it, he would benefit a lot. Ha ha ha, this spiritual fire is mine. Shuafang's on. Lu Nang laughed loudly. He wanted to teach this man a lesson and simply cut off an arm. Unexpectedly, there was an unexpected surprise. Looking at Lu Nang in front of him, Yi Lin sneered. Of course, he knew what Lu Nang was thinking. He usually did not use the Phoenix Fire easily. Once he used it, he would take his life. So in his eyes, Lu Nang in front of him was already a dead man. Tiger roars in the forest. Accompanied by a fierce tiger roar, Yi Lin punched the long sword in Lu Nang's hand. Boom! Suddenly, a powerful air wave spread out in all directions, and countless gravels on the ground were shaken into powder. And on the ground, several terrifying cracks appeared. Puff! At this time, Lu Nang vomited blood, and his whole body flew backwards. The long knife in his hand also fell off and flew in the air. Then it was heavily inserted into the ground. How is it possible? Looking at the flesh and blood on the front half of his arm disappearing, Lu Nang widened his eyes, his face full of disbelief. When he fought just now, he was originally in the upper hand, but this spiritual fire directly burned the flesh and blood on his palm. The whole person's momentum also dropped extremely. What kind of fire is this? At this time, Lu Nang suddenly widened his eyes and roared, and the next moment, a fiery red flame flew out of his mouth, and Lu Nang turned into a ball of fire and finally turned into ashes. Phoenix Fire is so perverted. When they fought just now, Yi Lin had already planted the Phoenix Fire in Lu Nang's body. Just a slight trigger will begin to burn the victim's internal organs, and eventually turn them into ashes. In the middle stage of foundation building, I can kill them at will. At this time, Yi Lin set his sights on the yellow-grade upper-grade long sword. Yellow-grade top-grade long sword. Forget it, it's better to have something than nothing. Yi Lin waved his hand, and the long sword was stored in the space ring. He would find someone to sell it when he got out. Although he didn't like the yellow-grade top-grade long sword now, it was worth a lot of money. At least it could be exchanged for a medium-grade spirit stone. At this moment, in the distance behind Yi Lin, the rosy clouds were everywhere, and huge waves of sound resounded throughout the Longshuan cave. Suddenly, streams of light flashed in the sky, all heading that way. What kind of treasure has come out to cause such a big commotion? At this time, Yi Lin's heart moved, and he stepped on the long sword and flew over there, while on the ground, countless casual cultivators used their legs to hurry on. This rosy cloud seemed to be very close, but it was actually very far away. After flying the sword for several minutes, he still hadn't reached the destination. This made Yi Lin sigh that this place was really big. If he was in Qingyan sect, if he was traveling at full speed, it would only take 1 minute to go around the entire Qingyan sect. However, at this time, when passing by a canyon, the scene in front of Yi Lin suddenly changed. The surrounding environment became completely dark, and thick fog rose from all around. Formation. Seeing the changes around him, Yi Lin's mind moved, and then he looked around vigilantly. Ha ha ha, thank you Brother Wu, this formation plate is really useful. HMPH, Lin Zisheng, I will help you this time, and you have to compensate me 3 times for the consumption of my formation plate. Of course, of course. At this time, 3 figures walked out of the fog in front of him. In the center was Lin Zisheng, who was full of arrogance. Standing on the left was a man with a long sword on his back, and standing on the right was a fat man with a compass in his hand and a painful face. Yi Lin, how is it? Are you satisfied with this situation? At this time, Lin Zisheng looked at Yi Lin with a proud face, and seeing this, Yi Lin reacted. It turned out that the rosy clouds were all made by Lin Zisheng, in order to lure him out of the hole. For me, you were really willing to do it. Yi Lin sneered. The rosy clouds were all over the ground. Ordinary treasures could not make it. I guess it must be at least a Zon-level top-grade treasure. Humph, for you, everything is worth it. 2 senior brothers, please get rid of you. At this time, Lin Zisheng looked at the 2 people beside him and said with a smile. You are really going backwards as you live. A small initial stage of foundation building actually went through so much trouble. Remember what you promised me. At this time, the man with the long sword on his back finished speaking and looked up at Yi Lin. Remember, the person who killed you is Xiao Chen of the Tianjian sect. After speaking, Xiao Chen drew the long sword from his back. Sword control technique, long rainbow piercing the sun. Xiao Chen shouted, and suddenly, the long sword turned into an extremely hot sword light, shooting towards Yi Lin, and the fog around was shaken away. Countless sword chi surrounded him, with an extremely powerful force. The demonic shadow has no trace. Yi Lin muttered in his heart, and then his figure disappeared, dodging the sword with an extremely tricky step. How is it possible? Xiao Chen frowned. The angle at which this person dodged happened to be the death gate of Chenghong Guanri, but this secret was unknown to everyone except those who practiced sword control. No, it must be luck. If you can dodge one sword, can you dodge the second sword? Unfortunately, there is no chance. At this time, Yi Lin flashed in front of Xiao Chen, raised his right hand and hit Xiao Chen's chest. Arrogant, you don't take me seriously. At this time, Lin Zisheng's voice came from beside Yi Lin. Sword cuts the world, cut. Boom. A powerful sword chi came, and Xiao Chen took the opportunity to dodge, and his figure disappeared from Yi Lin's sight. Tiger roars in the forest. A fierce tiger roar sounded, and the mighty sword energy was directly smashed by Yi Lin's punch. Lin Zisheng's face changed, and he stepped back a few steps while holding his chest. Mid-stage foundation building. Looking at Yi Lin's realm, Lin Zisheng's face changed. Unexpectedly, Yi Lin actually kept a trick. Brother Wu Tian, it's up to you. Lin Zisheng said to the fat man in the distance. I know, yin and yang change. The fat man called Wu Tian was unwilling, and his right hand moved the compass in his hand a few times. Suddenly, the fog around him gradually increased. In Yi Lin's eyes, the figures of the 3 people in front of him disappeared in the fog. Is that fat man the one who manipulates the formation? It seems that the only way is to deal with that fat man. Feeling the fog around him, Yi Lin held a long sword in his hand and looked around with a vigilant face. This fog is so magical that it can actually block my perception. Swoosh. Just then, a sound came from the right, and Yi Lin raised his sword to resist. Dang. There was a sound of a clang, and a crisp collision sounded, and Yi Lin immediately took a few steps back. I am too passive now, I must turn passivity into initiative as soon as possible. At this time, Yi Lin was covered with phoenix fire, and the next moment, the mist seemed to have seen its natural enemy and dissipated. Is this mist afraid of phoenix fire? Seeing this, Yi Lin's face was happy. Since this strange mist is afraid of phoenix fire, it will be easy to deal with. Then Yi Lin spread the phoenix fire. Now he doesn't have to worry about the problem of spiritual power consumption. His spiritual power reserves are comparable to those of late-stage foundation building cultivators. Yi Lin was walking very fast while using phoenix fire to disperse the surrounding fog. It must have been very expensive to drive such a huge formation. He is now competing with the fat man to see who can last until the end. The sword cuts heaven and earth, cut. At this time, a huge sword light appeared behind Yi Lin. Can't you bear it anymore? 3 swords of life and death, 1 sword of life. Suddenly, the 2 long swords collided. Click. Hearing a crisp sound, Lin Zisheng looked at the broken sword in his hand with a horrified expression. Is this a high-grade yellow-level long sword? To be able to break so easily means that the long sword in Yi Lin's hand must at least be of Zon level. 1 sword of yin and yang, kill. Seeing Lin Zisheng's long sword break, Yi Lin had no intention of holding back, and Chen Sheng immediately pursued him. The skill of wielding a sword is like a rainbow piercing the sun. At this critical moment, Yi Lin's heart was alarmed, and he immediately turned around and raised his sword to resist. Tiger roaring mountain forest. Suddenly, a huge roar of a tiger resounded, and Lin Zisheng was directly punched away by Yi Lin. The game should be over. Yi Lin looked sharp. If they were fighting head-on, these three guys would be able to beat each other even if they were tied together. It was really annoying. 7 killing fists, kill. Yi Lin threw away his sword and then punched Xiao Chen in front of him. Xiao Chen looked solemn and held the long sword across his chest. Boom! Yi Lin punched the long sword, and the long sword immediately formed a strange curve. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's entire figure was thrown behind him. No, I can't hold on anymore. In the distance, there was an extremely anxious voice, and at this moment, the strange mist around them dissipated. I saw the fat man sitting on the ground sweating profusely, not caring about his image at all. Tiger roaring mountain forest. Seeing Xiao Chen trying to stand up, Yi Lin punched him again, showing his murderous intent. No, Lin Zisheng, save me. Looking at Yi Lin's punch, Xiao Chen's originally calm face was now filled with fear. He felt the fear of death from Yi Lin's punch. Stop, cut the world with your sword, cut. Lin Zisheng was shocked when he saw this. Xiao Chen was his old lover's younger brother, and his old lover knew all his plans. If he died here, his old lover would definitely not forgive him after he got out. Get lost. Yi Lin summoned the Ice Soul Needle from the space ring and shot it at Lin Zisheng. Suddenly, the Ice Soul Needle shot out like a bullet. Lin Zisheng could only resist in a hurry. No, boom. With a loud noise, Xiao Chen's body was directly hit into the air by Yi Lin's punch, and his whole body was covered with blood. 7 killing fists. Another punch was thrown, and the disciple of the Heavenly Sword Sect was killed by Yi Lin's 2 punches. Now, it's your turn. At this time, Yi Lin turned his eyes to the fat man in the distance. Feeling Yi Lin's gaze, the fat man's face turned fierce. Lin Zisheng, you idiot, the intelligence is not accurate, and you asked us to die. The fat man cursed at Lin Zisheng, then took out the compass. Just when he was about to operate it, he heard a tiger roar in his ear. Tiger roars in the forest. Boom. I don't know when, Yi Lin has come to Wu Tian, and punched Wu Tian without hesitation. Before Wu Tian could react, he had no breath, and his whole body was lying straight on the ground. He was only in the initial stage of foundation building, and he couldn't withstand Yi Lin's punch. Watching Wu Tian die, Yi Lin squatted down and picked up the array plate in Wu Tian's hand and put it into the space ring. This thing will be studied slowly after going out. Because, he has more important things now. After Wu Tian died, the scene around him changed, and he was already standing in a canyon. It's our turn now. At this time, Yi Lin turned his gaze to Lin Zisheng, and at this time, the surface of Lin Zisheng's right hand had become frost. What on earth is this? Looking at the Ice Soul Needle in his palm, Lin Zisheng questioned Yi Lin. If he hadn't swallowed the pill in a hurry just now, he might have died. This needle is so powerful. Tiger roaring in the forest. Yi Lin didn't waste any words with Lin Zisheng, and punched him directly. The ground was shaking, and a mighty force that could not be described in words pressed towards Lin Zisheng. Lin Zisheng's face turned pale and he couldn't help but take 2 steps back. Do you really think I'm afraid of you? At this time, Lin Zisheng remembered what the third elder said in his mind. Yi Lin must be killed by himself. Only by killing him can he break his inner demon. At that time, he can make rapid progress in his cultivation. Exploring the cloud hand. At this time, Lin Zisheng roared, and a huge palm shadow appeared behind him, grabbing towards Yi Lin. Boom! A punch and a palm collided, and several cracks appeared on the ground. And Lin Zisheng's cloud-seeking hand was instantly broken, and he couldn't resist it for even a second. Swoosh! Suddenly, there was a sound of breaking through the air, and a diamond-shaped object flew towards Yi Lin at an incredibly fast speed. Waiting for you. At this time, Yi Lin's mouth corners raised, and he immediately used the magic shadow to avoid this fatal blow. The diamond-shaped flying object was immediately placed on the mountain wall behind Yi Lin. Boom! A violent explosion sounded, and the entire mountain wall was directly blown into a big hole. This power is infinitely close to the peak of foundation building, no wonder it can break my Taoist platform. Looking at the huge hole in front of him, Yi Lin couldn't help smacking his lips. Since the beginning, he has been on guard against the hidden weapon in Lin Zisheng's hand. How is it possible? Seeing that his fatal hidden weapon was dodged so easily by Yi Lin, Lin Zisheng's face changed drastically, and he immediately doubted his life. Then he began to run to the side quickly, at a very fast speed, and it was obvious that he used a high-grade body movement martial arts. Yi Lin did not chase after Lin Zisheng's back. Lin Zisheng had long been on his must-kill list, but at this time, Lin Zisheng still had some use value, so it would be a pity to kill him. Moreover, all of Lin Zisheng's whereabouts were under his control, and Lin Zisheng had been hit by the ice soul needle at this time, which was enough for him to recuperate for a while. That was something that was extremely difficult even for a Jindan stage cultivator to be hit by. Even if Lin Zisheng didn't die, he would be half crippled. He was like Tathagata Buddha, and Lin Zisheng was that monkey king. Before squeezing out the last value, no matter how he jumped, he could not escape from his palm. At this time, a panel appeared in front of Yi Lin's eyes, which was Lin Zisheng's. Name: Lin Zisheng. Cultivation: middle stage of foundation building. Fate: blue. Numerology: average luck, King of Swords, perception of God, reincarnation of a powerful person, Son of Heaven. Fate: stopped at the early stage of incarnation. During an exploration of a secret realm, he was beaten to death by the other three gods. Average luck: you have a lot of luck. Good luck can often help you escape danger. Reincarnation of a powerful person: you are the reincarnation of a powerful person in the immortal world. After repeated setbacks, the soul of the previous life will awaken strongly when you break through the peak of foundation building. At that time, your future cultivation will be smooth. Son of heavenly destiny: the loss of fate will cause your luck to decline greatly. During this period, your luck will lead to a wave of counterattack. Recent opportunity: after leaving Longshuan Cave, a small spiritual mine was discovered in the center of Zilong Mountain, the deepest part of Shiwanli Mountain, from which 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones and 30 medium-grade spiritual stones were discovered. Looking at Lin Zisheng's panel, Yi Lin thought in his mind. The first one is the reincarnation of the great power. It was originally awakened in the nascent soul stage. Now the time has been advanced a lot, and the peak of foundation building will be awakened. This was undoubtedly due to the fact that he had been beaten too hard by his own tricks and multiple blows during this period. Therefore, the first target must be to kill Lin Zisheng before he could reach the peak of foundation building. The powerful soul of the immortal world was reincarnated. If the memories of his previous life were awakened, he believed that he would never be Lin Zisheng's opponent. The powerful immortal was an old monster who had lived for tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. In front of others, I am just a child learning to talk. It is scary to think about facing such an old monster. The second one is luck's counterattack, which is like a dying person's flashback and a final counterattack. Well, I'll give you a few more twists at the end, and then I won't be able to keep you. After thinking about it, Yi Lin secretly thought that the counterattack of luck had just happened to fulfill him. During this period, Lin Zisheng's opportunity was also the best and most precious. After the capture is over, Lin Zisheng must die. He and Lin Zisheng are now life and death enemies. If he continues to play, he will be ruined. It seems that I have been paying more attention to you recently. By the way, what kind of treasure did Lin Zisheng use? At this time, Yi Lin turned his gaze to the distance. I saw shouts of killing coming from there from time to time, and it was extremely lively. From the beginning to now, at least half an hour has passed. Half an hour is not over yet. It must be a treasure that everyone is jealous of. Go over and take a look. At this time, Yi Lin stepped on the long sword and flew forward. I saw a big mountain appearing in front of me, and all kinds of battles could be seen around the mountain. At this time, disciples from all major forces have joined the battle, and among them, the casual cultivators are the most miserable. There are very few casual cultivators who enter Longshuan Cave in the foundation building stage. Most of them are in the Qi training stage. In front of the disciples of the big forces, they are just cannon fodder. And knowing that they are going to die, they still want to enter the Longshuan Cave. I have to say that this is extremely sad. However, at this time, Yi Lin set his sights on the top of the mountain and saw a flower planted on the top of the mountain. The flower was extremely bright and emitted various colors, which was dazzling. And all around, there were figures standing, and they were all wary of each other. At this time, Yi Lin noticed Shi Jian's figure standing among the crowd, and then flew towards Shi Jian. Senior brother. At this time, Yi Lin came to Shi Jian and nodded towards Shi Jian. Junior brother, I was just going to find you. I found what you wanted, and that is the baize flower. Hearing this, Yi Lin looked forward and saw the colorful flower. Shi Jian's words attracted the attention of disciples from all the major forces around him. Junior brother, have you made a breakthrough? At this time, Shi Jian said with surprise on his face when he noticed that Yi Lin was exuding the cultivation level of the middle stage of foundation building. Well, I just broke through. Yi Lin nodded and looked around, analyzing the situation. There were a total of 18 figures standing around, 5 of them were in the middle stage of foundation building, and the rest were all in the early stage of foundation building. Everyone, I am Li Changye, the eldest elder of the Li family. Please give me some respect. My master is in urgent need of these baize flowers now. At this time, a young man bowed to the people around him and then spoke. HMPH, who among the people here is not from the 4 major sects and the 4 major families? Do you still need to give your Li family face? At this time, another person from a major force snorted coldly. Hearing this, Li Changye looked embarrassed, but he did not dare to refute. Junior brother, the situation doesn't look very good now. How about we retreat temporarily and wait for junior sister Li and the others to arrive before we can make a long-term plan? At this time, Shi Jian sent a message to Yi Lin. From the moment he entered Longshuan Cave, he discovered that the name Qingyan sect was not very useful. Moreover, if he reported the name of Qingyan sect, these powerful people would often target him. At this time, 3 more figures came from a distance. Junior sister Li. When he saw the visitor clearly, Shi Jian said with surprise on his face, it turned out that the visitor was the other 3 direct descendants of the Qingyan sect. Senior brother Shi Jian, junior brother Yi. Li Miaoling nodded to the 2 of them respectively, and then looked around. However, the atmosphere at this time gradually became deadlocked. No one dared to take the lead and could only watch. Unknowingly, people from the Li family and the Long family slowly stood together, disciples from the Wang family and Zhao family stood together, and disciples from the 2 major forces, the Holy King sect and the Tianjian sect, stood together. Seeing this, Yi Lin already understood in his heart that the Li family and the Long family formed an alliance, the Wang family formed an alliance with the Zhao family, and the Holy King sect formed an alliance with the Tianjian sect. And the disciples of the Killing sect didn't come here at all. Qingyan sect, this battle is not something you can participate in. Just retreat. At this time, Li Changye, who had spoken just now, said to Yi Lin. How dare you? Our Qingyan sect is the master of this thousands of miles around us. How dare you, the subordinate sects? At this time, Shi Jian stood up and said angrily towards the 3 parties. If you still don't retreat, then don't blame us for taking action. As the Wang family disciple opened his mouth, the air was filled with a strong smell of gunpowder. At this time, the casual cultivator who had just defeated other casual cultivators and successfully climbed to the top saw this scene and immediately ran down the mountain without looking back. Fighting between gods is not something mortals like them can participate in. Seeing such a situation, how could the 5 direct descendants of the Qingyan sect, including Yi Lin, not understand that they were going to rebel? Leave those 3 mid-stage foundation building monks to me. At this time, the young man who had never spoken a word suddenly spoke. Yi Lin also turned around to look. This man's aura was extremely powerful, especially the vague sword intent exuding from his body. Senior brother Sha Yan. Shi Jian nodded towards the young man. As a veteran disciple, he had great faith in the strength of the person in front of him. Can people from 2 sects dare to fight? At this time, Sha Yan picked up the long sword on his back and held it in his arms, and said to the crowd in front of him. 3 of the 5 middle-stage foundation establishment disciples are in these 2 major sects. Be bold, Sha Yan, long time no see, let me see how much you have improved. At this time, someone from the Tianjian sect walked out, looked at Sha Yan and scolded. You're not qualified yet. Looking at the person in front of him, Sha Yan shook his head indifferently. Arrogant, since you want you to fight 3 times, then we will make it happen for you. After saying that, the 3 mid-level foundation builders flew towards the distance, and Sha Yan followed closely behind. Fighting here will easily destroy the baize flower. When the time comes, they will have no place to cry. Come on, "You fools, let's fight. I'll take care of the remaining 2 mid-stage foundation building figures." Afterwards, one after another enemies were led away by the 4 people, leaving only 3 disciples in the early stage of foundation building standing in front of Yi Lin. Seeing this, Yi Lin looked helpless, and at the same time, a warm current flowed through his heart. Although Qingyan sect is not peaceful, his senior brothers and sisters are still very kind to him. HMPH, brothers, come on, I heard it just now. This guy has just made a breakthrough. Take advantage of his unstable state and kill him. After saying that, the 3 of them performed sword moves together. Seeing the 3 people's aggressive momentum, Yi Lin's expression remained unchanged. He put his right hand together with the sword and slashed at the 3 people. Suddenly, a sword light flashed, and the bodies of the 3 people fell neatly on the top of the mountain. Then Yi Lin grabbed the base flower, and just when he was about to put it into the space ring, 2 figures appeared behind him. "Tisk tisk tisk, you are the most hidden in the Qingyan sect." Hearing this, Yi Lin turned around and looked at the 2 masked people behind him. "You are just a rat who dares not show your face to the world. You are sharp-tongued, put down what you have in your hand." Yi Lin looked at the base flower in his hand and then put it into the space ring. "Space ring, he, I didn't expect there would be an unexpected surprise." Seeing the base flower suddenly disappear, the masked man in the lead laughed even more wantonly. "I originally thought of picking up a loophole, but I didn't expect to pick up a big loophole. Want my stuff? You have to be alive to get it." At this time, Yi Lin slowly took out his long sword, which rubbed against the ground, making a harsh sound, like the sickle of the god of death. "We too have stayed in the middle stage of foundation building for 3 years. How can you, who has just broken through the middle stage of foundation building, have the confidence?" Wang San looked at Yi Lin, and a dagger appeared in his right hand. The dagger was covered with a layer of emerald green powder, which was extremely poisonous. The people of the killing sect only know some despicable means. No wonder they have been suppressed by the Holy King sect and the Heavenly Sword sect for a long time. Seeing the dagger, Yi Lin sneered. The killing sect used to be a killer organization, and was not welcomed at all, just like a rat in a stinky ditch. However, after the King of Killers broke through the Golden Core stage, he established the killing sect with great strength. Because it started as a killer organization, it was oppressed by the Holy King sect and the Heavenly Sword sect all day long. This also makes the status of the Sha sect extremely special. It is suppressed by the Qingyan sect above, excluded by the 2 major sects in the middle, and looked down upon by the 4 major families below. Sharp-tongued, kill him. At this time, one of the men in black seemed to be angry and disappeared. "I have heard that the Sha sect has an extremely strange body movement. Now I see it, it is true. I wonder how it compares to my demon shadow." At this time, Yi Lin immediately performed the demon shadow, and his speed was even faster than that of the masked man. Cut. With a clang, the dagger in the masked man's hand suddenly broke into 2 sections. Zong level treasure. The masked man looked at the broken dagger in his hand and doubted his life. This is a yellow level middle grade treasure, which he usually treasures very much. But the person in front of him not only has a valuable space ring, but also a Zong level middle grade long sword. Is he so rich? However, at this time, a dagger suddenly appeared behind Yi Lin. As members of the killing sect, they will not fight you head on, but will only use assassination, which makes them very difficult to deal with. 3 swords of life and death, 1 sword of life. Yi Lin turned around and used a sword, forcing the person to retreat directly. This person from the killing sect is really difficult to deal with. If you want to solve it quickly, you must kill one of them first. Looking at the masked man in front of him and the masked man who was staring at him, Yi Lin thought to himself. "I have the shadowless magic. When I use it, my speed is no less than theirs. In this case, I will kill one of them first." After thinking of a countermeasure, Yi Lin rushed towards the person in front of him. The shadowless magic was used, and the masked man in front of him had no time to escape, and could only grit his teeth to resist. 3 swords of life and death, 1 sword of yin and yang. Suddenly, the masked man's heart was alarmed, and he took Yi Lin's sword hard. At the same time, his body twisted into an extremely weird shape to avoid the fatal black long sword. What a fast speed! The masked man covered his arm that was pierced by Yilin's sword, and his eyes were full of fear. He didn't expect that someone would be faster than them. The martial arts of their Shazong sect is of the middle level of the Zan rank. Now it seems that this person's martial arts is definitely not lower than the middle level of the Zan rank. Sword control, long rainbow piercing the sun. At this time, Yilin would not give him a chance to rest. The long sword in his hand turned into a sword light and stabbed at the face of the person in front of him. Illusion, kill. At this time, 3 masked men appeared in front of Yilin and rushed towards him together. It's really difficult. Yilin pretended to dodge backwards. After the 3 figures merged into one, Yilin's eyes flashed coldly. He was fooled. Tiger roars in the forest. Accompanied by a fierce tiger roar, the phoenix fire was wrapped around his right arm, and 5 streams of light were rotating around his right arm. Boom! With a huge explosion, the masked man flew backwards uncontrollably, and his clothes, including the mask, exploded directly. Then he fell to the ground fiercely, without any life. The man from the killing sect was elusive with his strange body movements, but there would always be a time for him to make a move, right? That was the right time to make a move. The 5th grade Taoist platform is really well hidden. Seeing the 5 streams of light, another survivor cursed and immediately turned and ran away. He had only seen the 5th grade Taoist platform in the classics. It was a legendary thing, and he had only seen it in books. To condense the 5th grade Taoist platform, you need the 9-turn dragon roar flower. It is said that the thing has become extinct and does not exist in the world at all. As for the blood of the divine beast, hee. Do you think you can run away? Both the Phoenix Fire and the 5th grade Taoist platform were regarded as the real trump cards by Yilin. Anyone who had seen them would die. Lin Zisheng was an exception, but he would die sooner or later. Sword control technique, long rainbow penetrating the sun. At this time, Yilin shouted coldly, and the Phoenix Fire flowed on the long sword, and the power of the 5th grade Taoist platform was also injected into it. Suddenly, the long sword burst out with a speed more than 10 times the original speed. With such a fast speed, no matter what kind of body skills he used, it would be useless. In just one breath, the black-robed man had already run 1,000 meters, but the next moment, he stared at the long sword on his chest with wide eyes. How is it possible? Then, his whole body was melted by the Phoenix Fire and turned into ashes. 1,000 meters away, in the blink of an eye. Senior brothers and sisters, have they resolved the battle? At this time, Yilin looked at the battlefields in the distance. The man with the long sword was the most hidden among the disciples. Although Yilin had never fought with him, it was still easy for him to deal with the general middle stage of foundation building. And Li Miaoling was even more so. Like him, she was a slacker. As for the other 2, they were all in the early stage of foundation building, so there was no big problem. Sure enough, after Yilin waited for more than 10 minutes, several figures flew towards this side. Bad luck, they can't beat them and use hidden weapons. At this time, Shi Jian covered his arm and cursed, and blood dripped down his arm to the ground. His face was obviously not good. Brother Shi Jian. Yilin took out the healing pill and handed it to Shi Jian, who took it and swallowed it. Thank you, Brother Yi. 2 of them ran away. 1 of them ran away. At this time, Li Miaoling and Sha Yan said at the same time. It's okay to let them fight one against many, but if you want to ensure that no one runs away, it will be a bit difficult. This time, the younger generation of the major forces except the killing sect will be offended. At this time, the little fat man who had been following Lin Zisheng smacked his lips. Hearing this, Yilin silently added another, Sha Zong, in his heart. This time, he was completely offended. HMPH, the 3 major sects and the 4 great families are originally affiliated sects of my Qingyan sect. Over the years, they have become more and more active. Now it is appropriate to give them a beating. How can you say that you are offended? It is natural for a father to beat his son. At this time, Li Miaoling snorted coldly. Yes, I will report all this to the sect master when I get out. At that time, I will increase the resources collected to 20%. Shi Jian gritted his teeth and said, I have to say that this hidden weapon is really powerful. There is no effect after swallowing the medicine. Senior sister, fellow brothers, now everything has been solved, and there seems to be nothing precious in this Longshuan cave. I think we should go out. At this time, Yi Lin said softly. He can't wait to find the small spiritual mine. Such a large amount of wealth, he has never seen it before. That's fine, but we can squat at the exit and blackmail them. At this time, the little fat man touched his chin and thought. That's fine, we have stayed in this Longshuan cave for a long time, and the treasure hunt has almost been completed. The purpose of blackmailing other forces has also been achieved. Almost. At this time, Sha Yan, who had not spoken, spoke up. It must be said that this time the fight was a bit hasty. It was not that the disciples of other forces were weak, but that the strong disciples of other forces did not come. After all, the appearance of the baize flower did not attract everyone's attention. Even so, this time, Qingyan sect really showed its power, and the 5 direct disciples directly defeated the young generation of the 3 major sects and the 4 major families. This so-called relic has a lot of treasures, but it is not too little. The good things have long been looted by the person who destroyed this force, so how could they wait for them? Otherwise, it is obviously unreasonable for a force with a great Yuanying period to not even have a ground-level treasure. By the way, where is Lin Zisheng? How come I haven't seen that guy Lin Zisheng until now? At this time, Li Miaoling suddenly thought of something and said with a frown. That guy Lin Zisheng must be trying his best to suppress the ice soul needle. Yi Lin thought silently in his heart. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.